This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is a dish best served cold. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob. It's another solo show, so of course I've got a wonderful guest. Getting heaps of cool guests at the moment. We always have cool guests. There's no duds here. We only have cool guests, and today's guest is returning. Geez, can I say guest more? Christ. He's a returning member of the show. We've seen him last year. He made his debut. We spoke for 3 hours about, it feels like just about The Patriot, but we talked about many more things of that. He is a writer. He is a fan of story. He is one half of the Midnight Terrors podcast. He does all sorts of cool stuff, and he's probably the most ripped author you'll ever see in your life, and he wears Thor's hammer around his neck as well. Please welcome back to the show. You know him as R Jacob Honeybrook. We call him Roy. Welcome back, mate.
Hey, what's up, James? That is quite the introduction, man.
It might not have been as good as the last one. I always make them up on the fly, and then I got caught in my own, I'm like, gee, I'm saying guest way too many times.
It was good. It was good.
How are you, my friend?
I am doing awesome. It has been a hell of a couple months since I've last talked to you, but in the best way possible. So it's all good here.
It's been far too long. And just for the record, because I'm like, how have you been? We've spoken for over an hour.
In that hour, I completely forgot to talk to you about The Patriot, which you watched because I recommended it.
Yeah, I bought it. I bought it blind. Nice. I'm like, Roy recommended it. I'm gonna go check it out. But yeah, it's been far too long. I was saying to you before the show, I chat to you. I would say you're probably in the top 5 people I speak to the most online. We talk pretty regularly and stuff like that. And just a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, do you want to come on the show again? I was like, I have no agenda. You didn't have a book out, but I'm like, I just want to talk to you again. And yeah, I want to talk to you as well. Let's pencil something in. So we kind of haphazardly came up with a topic, but it's pretty flimsy. We're just whatever.
Right. We'll wing it. That's
talk. Yeah.
I live my life. Wake up and see what happens.
Yeah, but what's been going on with you, man? How has the book been performing since we last spoke? Still one of my favorite things I've read in the last few years.
Yeah.
How's that one going?
It's been going really well. When We Once Loved is actually my top-selling book.
Nice.
And it was weird because when I initially put it out, it wasn't really moving that much. And then I went and I hosted this panel Q&A thing at a film festival in New York. And I was like, well, that was cool. Maybe I'll get some networking or maybe somebody will recognize me there or whatever. And yeah, I'll take off. But
so we're so modest. We're like, oh no, it's not about that. It's just about getting this, getting the content out. But secretly, we're like, oh, and then we'll take off, and then we'll be able to do this forever, and we can quit our jobs, and
right.
we can buy the house, pay off the mortgage, and just do the thing we love for the rest of our lives.
Ain't that the dream?
We're such liars.
I'd do it for the love of the game.
It doesn't matter. I remember I was talking to a buddy of mine, my buddy Josh, who runs Deadleaf Games, and I was telling a story from our childhood, and he's like, "Hang on," he goes, "Don't tell that bit." Not that it's like there's nothing bad, but just the wording is probably not not as permissible in 2025. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I'm trying to sell out here, man. Don't worry. I'm going to clean this up. I'm trying to build a brand." When I was 18 years old, there's nothing worse than a band selling out. Now I'm like, please, I'd love to sell out. Just tell me what I need to do.
In a heartbeat.
But we have to pretend. We're like, oh, no, it's all about the art. And it is, right. But also that money would be lovely.
It wouldn't hurt. I could get some nice stuff. But
anyway, sorry, you were going to a New York Film Festival, and then I got on my weird tangent.
No, you're good. I'm always down to pull Metallica any day of the week. But after I hosted that Q&A at the festival, the book really took off. It was selling dozens of copies a day, which for me, I might do that in a month or a couple months. So yeah, there were a couple days where every time I check it, it'd be like, you sold 50, you sold 20, you sold 30. I'm like, God damn, what is going on here? But it was cool to see how many people checked that out. And man, that's my top selling one now. So I'm glad people Yeah, I'm glad people really picked that one up because a lot went into it. So to see it pay off like that's really cool.
Well, we talked about it a lot when you came on last time. I said we spent 3 hours talking about the page show. We did talk about your book a lot, and
Hmm.
I remember I was like I remember dissecting it in quite minute detail. I was like, tell me about this, because it was so fascinating, so well written. And I was telling you before that we started recording that like now it's my go-to for a lot of like kind of association references. Like if I'm watching something that has a train in it, like now I don't think of Stand By Me first. I think of your book. Like because it's got a really great train sequence. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't read this book. Come on, what are you doing? Like it's on Amazon.
Right.
Is like are they still free or they? But they're pretty inexpensive, aren't they? Or are they free to
They
read
are
still?
all, yeah, they're all 99 cents. I think if you
Yeah,
have Kindle Unlimited, you can get them all for free, but if
yeah.
not, it's 99 cents. I'm
Yeah,
not
he's not
trying to.
charging a king's ransom, guys. Like it's so inexpensive, and it's the best 99 cents you'll ever spend. Like the returns alone, like what a great investment. Like your heart will be moved. I promise. It's a great story. I sound like I'm being facetious and I'm kidding. I'm totally not. I'm just excited about the book. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, as somebody who wrote it and makes stuff like that, to hear you say it's something you think of on a regular basis is just mind blowing. So I'm like, yeah, I'm surprised anytime somebody reads this stuff, let alone thinks about it or even reviews it. I'm just like, wow, this
Well, I
is
remember
weird.
my reading experience was so unique with that because I was in Scotland. First of all, that was pretty unique because I
Yeah.
haven't spent that much time there, and I was going to sleep at like 3 p.m. every day for work. So I'd go to sleep at 3 p.m., wake up at 11, and then start work at like midnight. So I would lie in the bed, and it was still sunny outside, and I would pull up my phone. I had to read on my phone. I didn't have an iPad or
Mhm.
anything, and I would just like pull up that attachment, and I would just read a couple of pages every afternoon before going to bed. So it was like the last thing I would think of before I go to sleep was the book you're reading, and it would just like I would just sit with me. So like for a it's not a particularly long book, but I was very sleepy, so it took me about a week to read. But every like week was like
Mhm.
another like little installment of this serialized short story, and I was like, man, this rocks. And I don't really read like that very often. I don't get to read much at all, so it was a
Wow.
very unique experience. So it does sit with me quite well. And then like I was just picking up on all these things, and I remember talking to him like, did you like were you like playing a lot of Silent Hill when you wrote this? Because I'm getting like elements of that, and like not like oh my god, you stole Silent Hill, but I like there's like thematically little bits. I'm like, did you watch Captain America? Because there's like a lot of that like that kind of. You're like, no, I've never watched that movie. I'm like, oh my god, like I was just picking up on these kind of like cultural touchstones, but in a very
Mhm.
fresh and unique way. So like it was a very positive experience for me, and it was like it got me excited about reading again. Although,
Nice.
as I said to you before the show, I haven't read any of your other books, like not on purpose. I just haven't gone back to them. I will. I really want to read New York's Killing Eve. Like that looks like an insane.
Oh yeah. Oh,
That
that
looks
one's a lot of fun. That's actually what I'm working on a sequel to right now. I
nice.
I announced it like I had the cover made before I even started writing it because I did the cover for When We Once Loved through TBM Horror,
Mm.
and Mar, the lady who runs it, who's like a friend of mine and now kind of my boss, I was like, "Hey, can you do the cover for When We Once Loved?" And she's like, "Sure." And she didn't realize it was going to just be an ebook because I don't want to put out a physical copy of something that's not long enough and have people be disappointed by it or whatever. So she was like, "Oh, well, I charged you for the front and back cover of a physical copy, so would you want another book cover for free?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Nice.
And a few people told me that they like New Year's Killing Eve and they wanted more of that story and that world and those characters. So I was just like, man, I can definitely do that. I loved writing that story.
Mm.
It's my ode to Resident Evil. So let's do this.
Nice. Yeah, I've got to
So
read
I
it.
started, yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. I started writing the sequel right at the beginning of the year, and I'm like, man, New Year's Killing Eve, the first one is a short story. It's like 6,000 words. So I'm like, oh, I can knock this out in like a month, maybe 2 months. Dude, here we are 4 months later. It's like 50,000 words. It's going to be a
Oh
full
man,
length novel. I'm like, wow, this has definitely turned into something I did not expect.
that's cool, man. Do you think? And maybe you've already been thinking about this. Like I'm sure I'm not. Like I'm sure I'm not the person to have the idea. But now that you've got a couple under your belts, do you think you would push for like a physical collection of the short stories you've written so far? Like do a physical release or?
Yes, you are reading my mind.
Yeah.
So My plan was when I put out New Year's Killing Eve 2, which was going to be another short story, I'd have a sizable amounts
Mm.
of content to put into a physical copy and release a collection. Well, now this has turned into something else. I'm like, this is gonna have to be its own thing. But also last Friday I had just this real out there dream, and I have a group chat with my co-host Kevin, the Review to Death guys, and ZC Kroll, another horror author.
Mm.
We all have this group chat, and I always send them my weird, fucked up dreams, and among other entertaining things.
I've heard. I can't remember which one it is. Was it the Dog Soldiers chat? I've heard some pretty out there stuff from the Midnight Terrace group chat. I'm not part of it. But I have heard some, Kevin, and yeah, and that would tell me some of the weird stuff that comes out of there. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
So I always send them my weird dreams, and as I'm typing out this one, I'm like, wait a second, I think I can make a story out of this.
Mm.
So that weekend, I'm like, well, let me capture this while I'm feeling this weird type of way about this crazy dream I had. So I just start writing it, and I'm like, I even texted in the group. I'm like, yo, bet me I won't write a 3,000 word short story on this tonight. Well, again, I start working on this thing, and the weekend goes by, and I'm looking, and I have 10,000 words down, and I'm like halfway through the story. I'm like,
Wow.
son of a bitch, can I write a short story anymore? Like,
I've never been able to do it. I remember we are talking about writing beforehand. Like the one thing I really struggle with at the moment is motivation. Like I'll
mhm.
put pen to paper, and I actually even talked about it on the podcast, which is the worst thing to do. Because like I started writing something, guys. This was like a month ago, and I haven't been back to it. I should have kept my mouth shut. Um, but when I was younger, like they would tell. I remember when I was in eighth grade, and they were like, "You have to write a short story." The assignment was you create your own universe, or it wasn't even like you create your own fantasy world. You have to create characters and like mystical items and stuff like that. Very cool assignment for school.
Yeah,
And then and then write a short story. I submitted a 52-page book. Um,
damn.
and the teacher was like, I got a really good mark on it, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, I'm so glad I got this mark. And my friend was like, she probably didn't read it. She probably just saw 52 pages. Was like, he made the effort. I was like, oh man, like it's really taken the wind out of my sails. But I found that book the other day when I was cleaning out my garage,
Oh,
and
nice.
I was reading a couple of pages, I was skimming a few pages. I'm like, man, I was really into Lord of the Rings. Like, this just smells of Lord of the Rings. Like,
That's not a bad thing to be inspired by. It's
no, not at all. Lord of the Rings, I find the more I watch that film, and I watched it a lot, like is the beginning point for so many of the things I love. I was like, I thought
hmm.
like I got into horror because of like the movie Final Destination. I think I'm into horror because of Lord of the Rings, like like those orcs and like the Balrog and stuff like that. Like, there's nothing more hellish than those. I'm like, wow, like that's. I wonder if that's why I like The Descent, because those creatures look pretty much like orcs as
Oh.
well. Like, I was tracking it, and I think Lord of the Rings might be the birth of a lot of my loves. So,
You're the second person that I've talked with who, in like a span of a week, who've said there's a lot of horror imagery in Lord of the
oh
Rings, and
yeah, so much.
I'm thinking about it, and what is it? The first scene where you see like where is it? It's the Sauron, the dude with the
Yeah,
white beard. When you look down and hit that pit with all the orcs and there's fire,
yeah.
it looks like hell. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And like you've got Mount Doom, like literally it's a
Hmm.
volcano. Like all the evil is forged in like molten lava. Like all the monsters are so hellish. Like you've got these dragons, but they're not dragons, and they've got like these weird like stubby heads. And like like even like the ring wraiths, like the nine riders, like covered
Oh
in
yeah,
black. And then to make him look more demonic, he's got a metal spiked helmet he just like puts on
so
top of his
badass.
so badass. Like,
What
still one of the coolest. The only character design cooler than that maybe is the Xenomorph from Alien. Like, that's still probably the best cat.
Oh,
But
I always thought the mouth of Sauron is just a
yes,
freaky thing.
yes. Oh my god. Like, yes, because he wasn't in the theatrical cut. I remember I was so
Oh,
obsessed with
really?
I was so obsessed with Lord of the Rings as a kid. I would always get like the photo albums, like the movie
Mhm.
photo, like poster gallery stuff. And there was this
Oh, yeah.
character, the mouth of Sauron. I was like, oh my god. I was like, I can't wait. I was into metal at the time. I was getting into metal. So I'm like, this is the most like metal like
Hell
character.
yeah.
And then the movie came and went. I'm like, where was the mouth of Sauron? I'm like, what happened? That extended cut, he's there, and I'm like, yes. And like, if you're a Rings fan like I am, you don't even watch the theatrical cuts anymore. You own them out of respect to the original material, but you only watch the extended cuts, all 13 hours of them, or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I have the extended. They're one of the few movies I have on Blu-ray is the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
mm,
I have, I think, the first six Star Wars, and Reservoir Dogs. There's only that's the only stuff I have on Blu-ray.
Oh, you're so cool.
I know, right? Well, everything else I already had on DVD, so I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
I'm
I
not.
thought you mentioned like you only owned like a couple of physical copies, and I'm like, that's such a
No.
film bro thing. But
Oh
no,
no, my closet is just filled with DVDs and video
nice.
games, but I had everything on DVD, and I'm like, well, I don't see a huge jump in quality. Like, why am I going to spend another 20, $30 on the Blu-ray when I have the DVD? Like, and then
Meanwhile, like I'm changing all of my DVDs into Blu-rays and turning my garage into a cinema. Like,
well, meanwhile, what I do is I like to watch The Departed on St. Patrick's Day. I think we had that discussion the first time I was here,
nice.
and I'm looking at it, I have the DVD. I'm like, is this really the best quality? So I end up just buying it and running it on digital anyway. I'm like,
Yeah.
should have just bought that Blu-ray.
Yeah, there's a couple that don't hold up. I've got Gangs of New York, which is another great Scorsese, really
Oh, it
underrated
is.
flick. I only have on DVD, and the last time I watched, I was like, "Man, this sucks. It looks awful. I have to like upgrade it." And then I had
Yeah.
some people house sitting while I was overseas, and they were watching it, and they're like, "Is it like they're like, is this a burnt copy?" And I'm like, "No, like the transfer is just really bad. I didn't realize it until I
Man.
watched it, and I was like, oh my god!" Like when I was younger, like you don't notice, but now I'm like, wow,
No.
like how did they screw up a Scorsese transfer? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if it was like an independent, I'm like, okay, if they didn't care and stuff like that, they're just treating it like a direct to DVD thing. But like, this is Scorsese. How did they screw this up?
Right.
Um,
Dude, I love Bill the Butcher throwing the potatoes at the
yes.
Irish. Get back on the boats.
Yeah, that was my introduction to Daniel Day Lewis. Probably my introduction to Scorsese as well. Now that I think about it, I don't think I'd seen because that flick came out 2002, so I would have been
Yeah.
14, if that. Um, I was really lucky. My mum was pretty cool. Like at that point, she was divorced from my dad, and the strict upbringing I'd been receiving had loosened a little when I went to her house, so I could start
Hmm.
watching stuff that was, like she bought me my first R-rated DVD and stuff like that. Like I got to watch a few things.
Nice. Way to
I
go,
mean,
Mom.
I was 17, so like in Australia, R rating is 18 though, so it wasn't like I could go buy it
Hmm.
myself. So I was still before
Gotcha.
my time, but I was like, I needed it for school as well. So it's not even a cool story. It was just like I need this DVD so I can like do a film assignment. I'm not old enough to buy it. Can you please buy it for me? My mum was very cool about it, and that was Desperado that I bought. So
Oh, that entire El Mariachi trilogy
so
is
good.
just phenomenal.
I just upgraded it. They just released a really sweet like box set in the UK, and I was
Mm.
staying there, so they just remastered all of them, and they're on Blu-ray and 4K now. So I bought that, rewatched all of them, and holy Christ! Like my top five is always kind of changing, and I was like, why is Desperado not in my top five all the time? This movie is so good. I've been talking about it a lot with people recently. I was like, the guys from not the guys, Andrew from the Revisionist Almanac was like, "What is the sexiest film of all time?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Desperado." Like I've just rewatched it. It's definitely Desperado. That's the sexiest film of all time. Like, like everyone in that film is sexy. Like even Steve
Gotcha.
Buscemi has never looked better. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Man, he's got it. That must be wow. Yeah.
yeah, like,
My intro to that series was actually Once Upon a Time in Mexico. My
yep.
sister really liked that movie, and I watched it with her.
Well,
And then
Johnny
I'm like,
Depp was
wait,
back in the conversation. Like he'd just done Pirates, and so everyone was obsessed with Johnny Depp again. Like he'd had a bit of a,
okay,
I don't think he had a lull, but like he'd done Edward Scissorhands and Ed Wood, and then the '90s. I don't think he'd done much, and then he did Pirates, which he was nominated for Best Actor, which is insane. Like if you look
yeah.
back, like, you're like, wow, that guy, like Pirates of the Caribbean got nominated for Best Actor. Like that's insane. But of course, like at the time, like that performance was so profound. Like you'd never seen, like you hadn't seen it. It was so fun. Like, and the Academy Awards had gotten quite stuffy, so to see something like that come through, was yeah,
I mean, Jack
yeah,
Sparrow became a cultural icon pretty much. Like
yeah.
everybody knew. Like I've only ever seen the first Pirates of the Caribbean, and even before that, I knew who Jack Sparrow was. Like
They're
he's
like they're
just.
all pretty fun, but the first one is in a class of its own,
Hmm.
for sure. But yeah, like yeah, he became like iconic. It was insane, and that's a movie that's based on a ride that outside of the US, outside of California, no one knows what you're talking about. Like, and it began like, and they made five of them. Like,
Right. Out of a ride.
yeah. Um, but
I will say it's a cool ride. I went on it when I was in Disney World in 1998 or 9. That was
Yeah.
my favorite attraction, was the Pirates of the Caribbean. And talk about finding horror and stuff that isn't. There was some scary shit on that
Yes.
ride, like
Oh my god, I wanted.
skeletons and cursed
Yes.
things.
Well,
Like,
I wanted to show it to my daughter. My daughter's 4.5.
mhm.
And she is starting to show interest in more mature content and stuff like that. Like last year we celebrated Halloween for the first time because we don't celebrate in Australia. So she
Mhm.
was like, I want to watch a
Oh wait,
Halloween.
you guys don't celebrate Halloween in Australia?
Not an Australian thing. Not
What?
Yeah. It's a bummer. Like as a fan of 70s and 80s horror slashers, like I'm profoundly
Uh,
disappointed.
so
Like
whenever a like a Michael Myers Halloween release is out there, are you guys just like, we don't know what Halloween is?
no, we know what it is because we're indoctrinated with American pop culture, so we know what it is. But
As is the rest of the world.
it's starting to catch on. Like I think because my generation
Yeah.
was a real TV generation, it's starting to
Mhm.
catch on more because everyone from my generation is now parents. So you will see trick or treating happening a little bit. You will see like like my wife and I, we love Halloween and stuff like and horror and stuff.
Mhm.
She doesn't like horror movies so much, but she likes the idea of horror and the visuals of it. So she'll always decorate the house with like giant spiders and gravestones and stuff like that. So we're very like
Yeah.
pro Halloween, but yeah, just didn't never really caught on in Australia. So we got to
I wonder
celebrate our
why that is.
um I don't I don't know that there's a real I don't know. I think from the baby boomer generation, there's a real anti-American sentiment. I mean, like now there's an
Hmm.
anti-American sentiment for a whole different reason, but
Mhm.
like I think, like sadly, like not
Sorry
me.
about that.
No, I like
It's
I
because of
like
me, isn't it?
yeah. The like if he makes a third New Year's Killing Eve, like he's really jumped the shark. Um, I think there was just like such like because America has always been the superpower. Like my dad's generation was like, no, we need to be Australian. They can't like consume our culture and like we need to like there's a I don't know what it was to be honest, but there was a real like anti-American thing for some reason. But I
Huh.
was like, yeah, but we can still like. Do you like the Naked Gun movies? Because I know you do. Like those are American. Do you like the Police Academy? Like you can't pick and choose. Like it's okay to like we can celebrate Halloween and not be American because it's not even
Mhm.
an American tradition, guys. It's a UK tradition. Like Halloween was
Yeah.
born over there. Like let's remember its origins. But anyway, you
Yeah,
guys just found a way to
it came from Sam Hain, which was a Celtic pagan
yeah,
thing.
you guys just found a way
Now,
to commercialize it and make it fun.
right. Well,
Like,
that's
do you
what
know what I
Americans do.
mean? Yeah, but
How
that's
can
the
we make
best
money
part
off
of
of
it.
this?
That's the best part of it. So we were celebrating Halloween for the first time, and my daughter,
Mhm.
who's about to turn 4, or just turned 4, was like, "Can I watch a Halloween movie?" And there's just like nothing for her age range. There was just nothing really there. It was all just a little bit too creepy. I was like, "Damn it!"
Mhm.
But she is starting to show interest, and I wanted to show her Pirates, but I rewatched it. And I was like, not yet. Like it is too
Gotcha.
scary. Like, although she had her first jump scare in the cinema this year, which was kind of cool.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Well, what got her?
I took her to go see Wicked, which I was already on the fence about. 'Cause I'm like, it's PG. It might be a bit much, and also there's no cartoons in it. It might go over her head, and the kid just got it. Like she was devouring it. Like
Nice.
she like knew. And then at the end of Wicked, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's
Nah.
a sequence with the flying monkeys. Like we see them transform for the first
Oh.
time, and like they're launching this attack, and like there's like hands coming through the windows, like in a zombie film, like trying to grab like one of the characters. And when it happened, my daughter jumped, like literally flew
Mhm.
out of her seat. And I like immediately like dad mode, like hand over the eyes. I'm like, hey, I'll tell you when it's done. And she's like, thanks, it's scary. And then like 3 seconds later, she pulls my hand down. I'm like, hey, isn't this too scary? She goes, it is, but I really want to see what's going on. And I was like, oh, this is my kid. Like she has such an appreciation for the content. She'll endure the fear to like see where the plot goes. I was like, that was a cool moment. Um,
What about stuff like Hotel Transylvania or Monster Squad or anything like
Monster
that?
Squad is not available in Australia, and it's really hard
Oh.
to get a physical copy anywhere. I've been trying because I've never seen it either, and like
Mhm.
I know I'm gonna love it. It's like Goonies by way of like Vincent Price and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I know
Yeah.
I'm gonna dig it, but it's not available. So as soon as I do get my hands on it, 100%. Hotel Transylvania, we started watching. She wasn't really digging the animation style. I don't think she kind of like just lost interest. She
Yeah.
wants to watch Goosebumps, and I'm like,
Ooh.
soon, like when you're 6, totally, we can do Goosebumps because she's pretty fearless. Like,
Yeah.
I had to reorganize my Blu-ray section because I just had it alphabetized, which means the Terrifier films are at the bottom of the shelf.
Oh boy.
And she saw Art the Clown, and she was like, "Oh, I don't like him," and I was like, "That's fair." I was like, I don't know that I like him. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Right?
so like he's pretty like he's pretty like unforgivable. Like at least Freddy and Jason have got some traumatic past. So I've been reorganizing. So anything that looks vaguely scary is on the top shelf now. But she is getting fearless. Like we were in HMV last year, which is the UK version of Best Buy, I guess, and I was buying
Okay.
Blu-rays, and she was walking through the T-shirt section, and she saw a face, and she's like, "Daddy, I'm not scared of it anymore. Now we can watch it." I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Turn it was Ghostface. I'm like, "I'm not showing you Scream, kiddo. Like, yes, I will show you Scream in about 10 years, but
Right.
like right now, like as well. But I'm glad you're not scared of the face because that means
Mm.
we can definitely check out Scream. But you're 4, and when Scream came out 30 years ago, wow, it will be 30 years next year. Jeez, that film. Um,
What?
I know, crazy, right? I remember when that
Damn.
film came out, I was really young, and there were like news reports about children who had seen it and who were like losing their minds. So I'm sure, I'm sure if I went back, it maybe happened to one person, like one kid actually
Right.
saw it and like it traumatized them. But like it was like in the news the way that like apples and razor blades were in the news in America. It was
Oh
just
yeah.
um
Hey, what
we
about I know Goosebumps gets a lot of love these days, but what about Are You Afraid of the Dark? Did you guys have that over there?
Yeah, I had cable when I was younger, so we had like the
Mm.
Nickelodeon channel, and I think I Afraid of the Dark was on that. And that was terrifying.
That was
Like,
worse than Goosebumps. There were some I remember the one episode. Well, there's actually a couple that were really
mm.
scary, but the one that would always get me is they put these glasses on and they can see these beings from a different dimension, but they're just all these
So they
guys dressed
live.
in
It was
black.
just
Pretty much,
yeah.
yeah, but it was like they were shadow people and I'm just like
Oh yeah,
this is
that is scary.
horrifying.
We had that, and there was a show called Erie, Indiana, which came out around the
Oh
same
my
time.
god.
And I don't remember
Yes, I remember here,
I don't
Indiana.
remember which show it was, but the story was, and this is a kids show about a girl who fell into a dam and drowned, and that terrified me. But like looking back now, I'm like, who are they making this for? Like, how is that entertaining for a child? Although, like, the
Yes.
same could be said for like the Batman animated series. Like, that's a cartoon,
Oh,
no jokes in that. Like, that is a drama. I'm like, how did this work? Like, it's genius. I'm glad it worked, but like, what were kids getting out of this? Like, it's so serious. But anyway, um,
I feel something like that is like a lot of the sitcoms that we will go back and watch now. Like my brother
mm,
and I will go back and watch episodes of Roseanne, and we
yeah,
find them hilarious for completely different reasons than we did
yeah,
when we were kids. And it's probably a similar situation with the Batman animated series. When I was a
yeah,
little kid, like there was some great action. There were all the
yeah,
classic Batman villains. That
yeah.
was cool for that reason. I'm sure if I went back and watched this as an adult, I'd be like, "Wow, this is this is a deep show."
Yeah, it is. It is. Like it really is. Because I didn't watch much of it as a kid. Like, because again, strict
Mm.
household was too violent. But I bought it. This is a sweet Blu-ray box set a couple of years ago. So I picked it up, and like yeah, there's some depth to it, man. Um, but yeah, I agree with you on the sitcom stuff as well. Like we're a big Seinfeld household. I didn't really
Mm.
watch it as a kid, but my wife did, so she introduced it to me. And like now we'll watch it with our kid. Our kid's 4, and like that show is loaded with like sex jokes, but just goes over her head. Um, but yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like the stuff that I had seen as a kid, I was like, oh, that was kind of funny. Now I'm like, oh, I had no idea. Like there's just so
Hmm.
much to it. Um,
Oh yeah, a big one in our house. Another one is Christmas Vacation,
yeah,
National Lampoons.
yeah,
You know, as a kid, it's like, oh, Clark Griswold's getting hurt. He's acting like a psycho like our dad. It's funny.
mm,
As an adult, there is so much just innuendo and
yeah,
references that I did not get in like 1993.
yeah. I was talking about this, I think, with Nadia, who was on the show. That she's an actress, and we were talking about Vegas Vacation, which was the one that I grew up on
Mm.
because it was the most safe. Um, but I now relate to Clark Griswold in a whole other way. Like we were literally traveling around Europe, and I had a Clark Griswold meltdown one day. Like, and I'm a very chill guy. Maybe I might have even
Right, you
told this
strike me as
story.
such.
Might have even told the story when you were on last time, but I'm a very chill guy. And we were like, the first couple of weeks, we were train hopping a lot. Like, it was just like,
Mm.
get out of the accommodation, get all the suitcases on the train. And it was like, and I was like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like a bad thing, but we got a toddler, like, we got a young child with us and stuff. And it was just a lot. And one day, like, we were going on this train to go through Switzerland, and we were loading our suitcases, and like just these people kept trying to go past us, And I like did like if you think about like the Wally World speech at the end of Vacation, that was basically me. Like I was cursing them out. I was telling them to get lost. I was like, it's a train. It's not going to leave. There's room for all of this. You need to slow down. You need to back up. Like I literally, and I'm throwing suitcases on. I don't know if they understood me because I'm speaking in English. They probably thought I was American. Unfortunately, I was probably doing you guys a
Another one of
disservice.
them.
Um, because over there they're like American. I'm like, no, Australian. And like, okay, and their demeanor changes. Like America's going through a rough time at the moment, but as a whole, like I think the rumors are greatly exaggerated. Every American person I've dealt with is lovely. It's like you guys just got a wacky guy leading the country at the moment. Which, by the way, we're going through an election right now, and the guy who's trying to get in is also a pretty wacky guy. Like I think it doesn't matter.
Oh, really?
Doesn't matter where you live. There's always someone wacky trying to get in charge. So, like, um, but we were talking. Oh my god, I knew this was going to happen, and I'm so glad it did. Um, New York New Year's Killing Eve 2 and physical copies. That's what we were talking.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to
Man,
skip
how'd we
this.
get there?
I don't want to skip it because it's really no. Because you were talking about Halloween, and I mentioned that we don't celebrate it, and you were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Let me tell you about my life."
It all started in 1988.
So you're working on part 2. So that gives me. I've
Yes.
got. I've got a time frame. I've got to read part 1 in time for part 2 to come out. So I've got a window now, which is good.
That's good because I have no window when it's going to be out.
But that's cool that you went from this short story that's like 10,000 words or whatever, or 6,000 words you said, and now it sounds like you're really planning out this whole world. Like if you're going 50,000 words, like that's. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like Tolkien going from The Hobbit to Lord of the Rings, which I think he did in reverse.
Right.
I think he did Rings first, but it's like, hey, like this is the short story to get to whet your appetite, but here's the real story. Like let's bulk it out.
For sure. And it's weird because like I said, I did think the sequel would just be a quick little wrap up and hey, this happens and that happens, let's get in, get out. And it's just like now there's different characters and plot points and just the development of the different people in it. I'm just like, how long is this gonna be? I want to work on other stuff.
Yeah, but I've only read the one. Shame on me. But your style of writing is so inviting. Like it's so easy to read. Like I really like it. I'm really impressed by it. Like it really made me realize how far I have to go as a creator if I want to put work, like pen to paper and stuff like that. And like not like, oh no, I'll never be as good as Roy. I probably won't. But it wasn't even. That was more just like, wow, like it feels so effortless. Like reading the way you kind of put a page together. And I know it's not effortless. I know you bust your ass to make it that way. But it's so like so easy to read and provides so much support where I can use my imagination to paint to fill in the blanks, but you're holding my hand every step of the way. So when you're like, oh, this one's 50,000 words, I'm like, oh, so there's more of that great experience. Fantastic. Like awesome. Like there's nothing worse than having to work to read a book. Like I feel like as someone who loves consuming story as much as I do, and it's why I do something so passive like watching movies, is because like if you want to invest that time, but it like I feel like Stephen King is pretty good most of the time, but there are a couple of books that I feel are just impenetrable. Like I'm just like, oh my god. And Tolkien's an author like that as well. Like I love Lord of the Rings. I read it once. It took me a year. I'll probably never read it again unless my daughter wants me to read it to her. Like I'll probably never read it again because it's just so unnecessarily inaccessible. But you're like it's not so simple that it feels like it doesn't feel like it was written with a crayon. Like it's so lovingly crafted. But it's just like the right amount of support where I can do a lot of the heavy lifting myself, but it's never a challenge, which is good. So I'm just pretty much just like kissing up to you.
I appreciate it.
But like the idea of you doing like a full size novel or taking that next step is exciting to me. I'm like, oh my god, like this sounds amazing. I know it's a lot more work for you, but like, yeah, give me 70,000 words. I'll read that. That sounds great.
It might end up being that long because I'm only about 3/4 of the way through. So we're gonna see where this one goes. And there's some stuff I want to go back and add in, but I think a lot of my style comes from writing journalistically. For about a decade of my life, we had to, or at least I had to, in some cases, get these 100-page court dockets with all kinds of lawyer speak. And it's like, okay, break this down into about 5 sentences that everyone can that everyone can understand. So going from that
that'll do it. That'll do
right.
it.
after you've broken down a couple court dockets, you can describe what a fucking train looks like.
Yeah. I like that we keep going back to the story. And also, you were very kind because I was like, I would read 70,000 words, and you're like, James, you haven't read the other books. Like, don't overstretch.
Right.
Um,
Let's get the backlog done here.
yeah, I will. But that goes back to my question. Like, so are you going to do a physical anthology? Because I'd love to have that on my shelf. Um, and maybe even read it. To be honest, I probably should do that as well. But what a jerk! What a jerk! I've had so long to read them, and I haven't touched them. I'm like, I knew you were coming on, and I'm like, oh, I'll just watch the movie we want to talk about instead.
There we go.
But you're
No,
thinking about doing a physical copy?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to write New Year's Killing Eve 2 thinking that was going to be a shorter work, but it's turned into something else. So I am writing, I think I mentioned I'm writing another piece too that should be a shorter work. So once that's done, I'll put that out and then go back and collect these all into one collection, collect them all into one collection. Of course, what else would they be? And then I am going to put them all into one thing, get it out there digitally, get it out there physically.
Nice.
And then that way I can say I actually have a real book out instead of just the imaginary ones.
Well, you're getting the attention though, man. You're saying like you're getting dozens of kind of purchases a day. Like that's awesome. Like with the most recent one. So, and
well,
now
I was.
I
had a spike there for a little bit.
Yeah, but that's what happens. Like you put something out and then you go back into
Right.
creation mode, and like you're not kind of pimping it as much. So you've got to, focus on the next thing. But you've been getting out there as well. You did the panel you said, and you've been co-hosting Midnight Terrace for feels like must be almost a year now. You've been in that role, right? Like it's got to be coming up.
We're going on about a year and a half now. I joined the beginning of 2024 as a full-time co-host. So,
that's right. I listened to that episode. That it was the Exorcist episode where you would, I think Kev announced you were going to kind of be joining the team and stuff like that. And then you guys
was that at the end of 2023? It's been almost 2 years ago. Jeez,
must be, yeah. And then also you announced, I don't know if anything's happened, but you're like, we're doing a heavy metal podcast. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait. I don't know if that ever got released, but I was so excited for that.
Kevin and I talk about that probably still at least once a week. He actually just hit me up last night and was like, what if we do a segment on the show where we just talk about different albums or different bands each week? I was like, so you're talking about doing the heavy metal podcast we've been talking about for a year? And he's like, yeah, pretty much, but we can make it part of the show. I'm like,
yeah,
I said
to him, I was like, if you need a guest to talk about like mid 2000s like thrash and stuff like that, I can come and talk about Trivium. They're not thrash, but I can talk about Avenged Sevenfold. I can come and talk about the Australian hardcore movement, like I call it
Parkway Drive.
Like if you need someone, or you just want some crazy Australian. Like I was in the heavy music scene, like I was there for the birth of it, like in Australia.
Oh yeah,
I'll come and do it. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna get a few episodes down, and then we'll definitely do guests. And that was 2 years ago. So.
Was it really that long ago?
No, it wasn't that long ago, but it was.
I know it might have been.
When did Exorcist Believer? I think came out 2023, so that would be just over.
Yes, I think it was over a year ago. It was at the end of 2023, so we're in 2025. It's going on 2 years.
Yeah, but it was December 2023. It's only about 14 months ago.
Okay.
16 months ago. I can, well, let's say, was Believer 2022 or 2023? It must have been.
It was 2023, I'm pretty sure.
There's no way it was 2022, right? That would be insane.
No, I was just moving out to Ohio and not going by my author name.
2023, yeah. That would have been insane if it had been 3 years.
I don't know if you feel like this with the podcast, but it feels like life is going by quickly. But when I look like the podcast stuff, it goes by even faster. Like we'll have guests on that we haven't spoken to in a year, and I'm like, how has it been a year since we've last spoken to this person?
I was literally
like a month.
I was organizing some of the title cards and stuff for the show because I think this will be episode 125. And I was like, 125? We only did episode 50 last year. Nope. Episode 50 was years ago. Like last year was episode 100. Like,
man.
Like, yeah. I was like, how did that, like, what happened? Like, how did that happen so quickly? Yeah, the show moves really quickly. And like, I'll have guests where I'm like, oh, I've got to have this person. It's been a minute, and it's been like years.
Yeah.
It's been years, like, since I've had someone on and stuff like that. Like I think the last time my dad came on, because my dad does the show every now and then. I think it's been like 2 years since he's been on. I'm like, and I like he's my dad. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I talk to him pretty regularly. Like how did that not happen? He was meant to come on and like last year before I went away, and I was on Zoom and everything didn't show up, and he just didn't. I couldn't get in touch with him. I was a bit worried
Oh
actually, but
man.
my dad's older. He fell asleep. He just fell asleep and forgot about it. But my old man, I think, is going to move around pretty close to me soon, so I'll be able to do some home visits, and we'll just.
That'll be nice.
I want to do this thing. I got to talk to him about it, but like, 'cause he's getting older, I want to do kind of like a um audio memoirs type thing with him, like just like record
Oh.
like because we've touched on like because he's got a really cool perspective because he was born before we had color television in Australia.
Mm.
Like when he was a teenager, like drive-ins were still a really big thing. Like we had drive-in cinemas when I was a
Yeah.
kid, but like he was there for like all of that sort of stuff and the rise of it. So like every now and then we'll talk and like he'll like when I talk to him and my mum, they'll be like, well, you know, like we wouldn't go to a cinema. Well, there wasn't like it wasn't like a cineplex. It was like a theater. Like that's what we had
Yeah.
growing up. So I'm like, oh my god, like there's so much like history in there. Like so that's what I want to do with him. Like once he kind of settles in and moves near me, is like do that kind of thing. And like it'll be a little bit different to what the show is normally, but it's
Hmm.
like, look, as a guy who's in his mid 70s and probably not going to be doing a ton of writing, like there's so many stories that we can kind of get on wax and stuff. So let's do that. So
Oh yeah, and especially just with the evolution of entertainment, like you said, the
mm,
color TV, and they had like I know when my dad grew up, I think they had three channels:
yeah,
ABC, AB or NBC, ABC, CBS. Like that
yeah.
was it. Now we have a million channels and a million streaming services, and
Yeah, well, I'm old
just
enough to remember when television ended. Like, at a certain point in the night, like it would just turn to snow on the TV.
oh
Like, because
yeah.
we didn't have the 24-hour TV cycle either.
Hmm.
Like from like midnight or like 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. there was just nothing on. It was just like it
Hmm.
was insane. Like, I remember that. Um, I remember
And
when
I
like
think
we had
too
TVs with
on the,
buttons on the front. Like you'd press the buttons to
oh
change the
yeah,
channel and stuff.
or like the
Like,
knobs.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like we had, like the Simpsons TV. I'm like, we had the Simpsons TV. I remember that. Like, yeah.
And you got to think too, just how people experienced movies and TV and
Mm,
entertainment is so much different. And it had so many different cycles throughout the
yeah.
years.
Well, they predate home video. Do you know what I mean?
That's what
Like,
I wanted to say. Yeah. Like when
mm,
you saw a movie, if you've heard of the Mandela effect, people remember stuff wrong.
mm,
Well, I think a big part of that is until about 5, 10 years ago, if you saw a movie and unless you owned it on home video, which wasn't even really a thing for a while, that was probably the only time you saw it for years
mm.
until it came out, until you picked up a copy. But I mean, when did home video really become a thing? In like the 80s? I
Yeah,
remember it was big in the
it would have been
70s.
like mid '80s. I look. That's
Yeah.
before my time. I was born in the late '80s. So by the
Hmm.
time I was old enough to kind of be aware of it, like it was thriving. Like it was huge.
Yeah.
Like it was such a big part of our lives. Like every Friday we'd go like after school and go to the video store and like pick up a bunch of like weeklies, like weekly rentals,
Yeah.
and stuff. I still remember the first video store I ever went to. Like it's so etched in my mind. Like I probably remember it more than the two that I worked in, and I worked in two video stores. When I was that were my first two jobs.
You're
Um,
like a young Quentin Tarantino.
oh man, except like less obsession with feet. Not no obsession, but less. Like
Still like a good toe.
yeah, but yeah, it was such a cultural touchstone, and now they don't exist. Which I think is
Yeah.
why I've been dedicating the last 18 months to turning my garage into what is ostensibly a video store. Like just like
Nice.
putting all those things on the wall. Like my niece came over, I want to say about a year ago, and I was showing her mum, my wife's sister, like the setup. Like I've been converting it slowly. And my niece came into the garage and just started looking, and she was literally browsing it like it was a video store. And I said to her mum, I'm like, check this out. Like, do you remember doing this? And she's like, oh my god, like it's like you have like a blockbuster. I'm like, that's the point. Like, I like
Nice.
the idea of like I hear this complaint a lot, especially from people my age and older. Like streaming, it's very convenient, but like you can just get lost in it for hours, like and never choose something.
Hmm.
Whereas you didn't mind doing that at the video store, like you could just pick up the cases, look at everything, that tangible, like kind of connection with the media and stuff. So um, I don't know how we got onto this, but we're talking about my
Well, I
dad
think,
being
I
older than
think,
video stores.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think it's insane for guys like us who came up with VHSs and DVDs and now streaming platforms. takes us all of 10 seconds to be like, oh, I want to see that movie. Da,
Hmm.
da, 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 there's the movie. Like, I think if you saw a movie in 1965, that might be the only time you ever
Hmm.
see that movie
Yeah.
in your life. How
Yeah.
crazy is that?
That's insane. It's I couldn't imagine. Like I rewatch pretty much everything I watch. Do you know what I mean? Like even stuff I
Hmm.
didn't like. If I didn't like it, I'm like, well, maybe I didn't get it. Like maybe I need to go back and second time, like
Sure.
and check it out again. But like if it was the way it was back then, I'd be like, well, I'll erase that from my memory because what's the point? I'll never see that
Never
again.
gonna see it again, regardless.
I think they did like I think like the drive-through scene kind of helped resurrect that though, because you would do like your double features and they could get like
Gotcha.
access to like classic films and stuff like that. And then in the advent of like the independent cinema, kind of movie house, you would have like new releases, but they would do like the midnight theater type stuff where it's like, hey, we're gonna do a marathon. Hey, we're gonna like do that. And it was more dedicated to like B movies and sleaze filled romps and stuff like that. But still, like giving
Hmm.
those films a second life. Pardon me, which if you don't have physical media, probably get forgotten. That's why I specifically like the UK. The UK, like I've got so many boutique labels now that are breathing second life into movies that people probably never would have heard of or never had a chance to. Like they just did a re-release or maybe a first-time release of the Russ Myers collection. I don't know if you know if you're familiar with him, but he's the
I'm
guy
not
who did.
familiar with that. No.
So he did Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. He basically did like all the titty movies, basically. So like
Like the
any romp,
'70s exploitation stuff.
yeah. So like
Okay.
anytime like you know, busty young women are being chased by like maniacs in cars and stuff. Like that was him. Like he did Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, all that sort of stuff. And they were like, "Hey, we're doing the first time ever on Blu-ray and 4K." And I was like, "Why would anyone want to watch Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens on 4K?" But all right, like at least someone cares enough to do it. Like they're bringing the
Right.
movies back. Um, Especially in a world of video piracy, which I wonder if that's still a big deal. Like I know, like in the era of Game of Thrones, Australia was notorious for being the largest pirating nation in the world. Like we did it more than any other country because we didn't have Netflix. We had no streaming services. Like in the height, like you guys had Netflix as a streaming service for years before we did. Like
Really? When
we
did you
didn't.
guys get it?
I want to say like 2014, 2015. Like we've only had it for about 10 streamers in Australia's only been around for about 10 years. Um, so we didn't have it. So we didn't have that. You didn't get independent theater releases very often. Like a lot of stuff didn't come. And if we got a physical release, maybe we got a DVD, but often not even that. So we were pirating so much stuff. But I wonder now in a post-streaming world whether those numbers have gone down because it's so accessible now and it's relatively inexpensive. I'd be interested to see
Yeah,
those facts. I don't know.
I think that's part of what helped the music industry is there was so much piracy around it until you had stuff like Spotify
Which
and
I
Apple
only got for
Music.
the which I only got for the first time literally like 2 weeks ago. I was so anti Spotify for the
Really?
longest time. I still buy CDs, not as much as Blu-rays, but I think the last CD I bought was a couple of years ago now. But
Okay.
but now like every car that we have doesn't have a CD player. None of my computers have a CD player, so it's getting
Right?
harder and harder. Like I've got an old iMac in my garage, which I was like, all right, I'll rip the CD, convert the files, put them on a USB, drag them to my current computer. I was like, oh my god, maybe it's time to get Spotify. So I do
Hmm.
finally have it, and now I'm like now I can just look up any song I want, which I'm like, okay, like I see the benefits of it, but I still do like the physical media. We've got a record player as well. I think we're really going to start building up our
Mm.
vinyl collection a bit more because we don't have enough stuff in this house. Um,
You're gonna have a blockbuster in your garage, a record store in your living room. But
yeah,
I do like collecting vinyls. That is fun.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh my god, what were we talking about? I've just gone down the. I know what we're going to talk about, but I got completely lost.
I think we were on the New Year's Killing Eve physical release.
Oh, you were talking. No, that's right. I
Yes.
was saying how you were talking about how fast podcast time moves. That's what it
Yes.
was. Because you're like, do you know realize that the time? Do you feel like time moves faster? Because I was like, oh yeah, my dad. And then we got on the whole. He was born before physical media, and then that's okay. Cool. We
We gave
got
you
there.
the history of cinema.
It took a moment. That's good. Like that's I always find that is, at least for me, evidence of a good podcast guest. I'm like, if you get so caught up in conversation you forget where you are, okay, that's probably pretty good. Like I'm not struggling for content. Um, Before we talk about the topic of the day, which we will get to eventually, I'm sure everyone listening is like, what are they talking about? Um, you recommended The Patriot the last time you were on the show, and I
Mm.
finally watched. I bought it. I went out. The only way I could get it on physical was 4K. They didn't even have like a DVD or a Blu-ray, so I had to get like the extremest of extreme versions of it. Um, I bought it on my birthday. I did like a huge. I spent a lot of money. I was like, I'm just gonna buy like $1,000, like 1,000 Australian dollars worth of Blu-rays. I'm just gonna like load up my like bag. I literally bought like sacks with me to fill up, and I just bought like a ton of movies for my birthday. And The Patriot was one of them. They had like a two for
Oh
one deal.
hell yeah!
Okay, so I bought that and I bought Hook, which might have been one of
Oh,
the which I'd never seen that before either. Maybe one of the best investments I've ever made. Um, and The
nice. I
Patriot.
saw I saw Hook when I was in college, and that's the
Mm,
only time I've seen it. But I do remember it was really good.
that's according to Steven Spielberg, it's his only failure. He doesn't kind of
What?
yeah, he doesn't like that flick. He feels like he really butchered it, but I think it's one of his
Huh.
best. I watched it, I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. Like, I watched it as a 36-year-old man, had never seen it before. It was my first time watching it. I'm like, this works. Oh my god, this works on every level. How wonderful is this movie? It was this is how good it was. I started watching. I told my wife, and she's like, "Oh, I would have watched that with you." I started
Mhm.
again, and we both loved it. And like my wife doesn't always like go in for like the kind of like 80s, early 90s stuff because if she hasn't seen it, it doesn't age too well for her. But she like dug it as
Mm.
well, so that flick holds up. But The Patriot, I didn't actually end up watching it. So I
Oh,
got back here to Australia. What an incredible flick! I was literally like messaging you throughout. Like I was like, I'm putting it on. I'm finally watching The Patriot. Oh my god, this movie's amazing. Um, like I get why it was like on your list. It's so well made. Like it's like prime era Mel Gibson. Like say like regardless of like the controversies behind the scenes and stuff like that. Like I try to separate art from artist. What a wonderfully made film. Like what an epic story. Like I don't get why it doesn't get more attention. Like I understand it's very much a uniquely American war story,
mm.
but maybe the best version of it. Like it's so well made.
Yeah, that's really the only movie, at least in the modern day, that I can think of that takes place during the American Revolution, or at least it's a
Mm,
big part of the story. Like we get a
yeah.
lot of, I feel like in America we get a lot of like early 20th century, mid 20th century stuff that romanticizes things like that era, but we don't see too much of the 1700s or the Revolutionary War or
Mm,
anything like that. And that's one of my favorite time periods in history, and I
mm.
would like to see more of it.
It's
We get a
so
lot of World War II movies.
well, they get the Oscars. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
if you want to win an Academy Award, make a World War II film. Tyler Perry just won an award for making a World War II film. Like, it's like-
Oh, was that did he make the one with the black unit that delivered the mail?
yes, I can't remember what it's
Okay, I
called.
did hear about that.
But Nadia, who was on the show, was in that movie. She was an extra on it. Like I
No
didn't even
way.
know. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I think yeah. So like even he won an award. I don't know Tyler Perry's work that well. I've only seen him in Gone Girl, which I thought he was excellent in. But I know like he does get
Dude,
he's the butt of some of the jokes sometimes. So
Gone Girl, I always thought because when I worked at a news station, all the women in there loved Gone Girl. I'm like,
mm,
this got to be like some fluffy romance bullshit. And then I saw the movie like 5 years later. I'm like, holy shit, this is
yeah,
amazing. And
really
then
good.
just yeah, and then just this past year I read the book. So I've read the book, I've seen the movie. I think it's an incredible story and just leaves you with that what the fuck feeling after you
It's
finish either one.
yeah, it's so and like it's like and coming from Fincher, who has I would say a pretty perfect track record. Like Fincher's made some excellent films. To come
Mhm.
out with that and it to hold up as well as his other stuff, I'm like, wow, like well done.
Yeah.
It's an interesting flick. Like you can tell that Affleck had started training to be Batman in that movie because like there are certain scenes where like, oh my god, Like he throws her across the room at one point. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like he's not like his physique changes throughout the movie, but in certain scenes, like, oh my god, he's on the Batman training now. She doesn't stand a chance. Like, look how big this guy is. And I remember
Take it
that.
easy, Ben. She's not the Joker.
Yeah, exactly right. And I remember like when that movie came out, they're like, it's great, but don't if you're in a romantic relationship, don't watch it. Like it'll ruin your relationship. And I remember I went and saw it with my wife, and she was like, "What about all the things I said?" I'm like, "If our relationship can't beat a movie, like, then I think there's more problems going on." Like, and of course, we're still together, so the movie did not defeat our relationship,
You guys
despite
won.
despite all the warnings we got. Like, don't watch this movie; it'll kill your relationship. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, there's gonna be better marketing ploys than this. Um,
I'll tell you, man, that it does demonstrate how nuts people can be. Like,
mhm.
I've dated women who have double lives. Like, they have a family at home that I didn't know about. I'm like,
Oh wow.
yeah, so it's like Gone Girl is not that far out there. I could see that happening in real life.
Oh yeah, oh no, I 100% believe that's true. I just didn't know that you had gone through that poor suffering.
Oh,
Um,
twice.
oh my god, can we make a sequel called Gone Roy? Um,
Yeah, that's why my ass is in Ohio.
but the Patriot. Sorry, I got distracted
Yes,
again.
The Patriot. Great movie.
Really good, really heartbreaking. Oh my god, I knew that
Mm,
like it was about like fathers and sons and stuff like that. But geez, and one of my favorite, my two favorite sequences. The first is the trick where he goes to like negotiate with the general or whatever, and he's like, "We've got your men" or whatever, and it
mm,
turns out to be a total bluff. Spoilers for a 20-year-old movie. That was a really great example of like classic Mel Gibson comedy in a film that probably shouldn't have comedy, but it works.
yeah.
And my second favorite scene, or actually might be my favorite sequence, is the first time he goes out for revenge, and like he's behind the trees, and like as one man basically takes out an entire unit. I was like, I just
Mm.
was not expecting that. I had no idea. Like that felt like a pretty advanced shooting sequence for a film, from the early 2000s. Just breathtaking. I was like, oh my god! Like, and I was like, I felt like a red-blooded American, like watching that. I was like, oh my god! Like, get them, stop those British, and it was so like enthralling to watch. Stellar
Yeah, I think
recommendation. I loved it.
what I say, watch that one in Days of Thunder, and you'll be a regular Coke drinking, chaw spitting American.
Yeah, I'll buy some. I'll start rolling some tobacco and drinking Bud Light or whatever it is. I'm not a beer
On
drinker,
top,
but
and
I'll
on
get.
top of being a great war movie, you hit on it too, as far as just the dramatic elements
Yeah.
to it and the family dynamic.
Mm,
And my thing about it is just it's such a personal revenge story wrapped up in this war movie.
yeah.
And that adds so much of a layer to it. Like, I love Saving Private Ryan, but like there's no personal vendetta against Tom Hanks' unit and the Germans. They're just fighting a war. This one really makes it personal. It does almost like what another one of my favorite movies, Gladiator, does. And
Yes. Yeah.
it makes it so much better when you have that personal aspect to it, and you can really root for your protagonist to kick the ass of the bad guy. What
The
was it, Tarleton? Or he was based on Tarleton, the British commander that
okay.
kills everyone.
I'm not a history guy at all, so I'll
Oh
defer to
yes,
you on that.
Tarleton had a reputation of doing what this guy did, like
Okay.
locking people in churches and burning them and killing innocents,
Yeah,
stuff like
I'd
that.
forgotten about that. Like that,
Oh,
and I
another
was
heartbreaking scene.
yeah, and I was like, well, they'll get out because it's a movie, so it's a bit. And I'm like, like, when are they getting out? Like, come on, guys, like they're gonna get out. Like, you're cutting it close, guys. They're gonna get. And I was like, oh, and like it took a long time for me to accept the fact that no one was getting out. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, like, jeez, like it's so weird because I'll watch like brutally like sadistic horror films like the Saw movies and like
Hmm.
Terrifier and stuff like that, but somehow like that sequence is worse. Like the church burning is worse than any of that stuff, even though it's nowhere near as explicit or as violent. Just like that happened, like that's a
Hmm.
real thing, like, and those are real people. Like when it's Jigsaw or Art the Clown or whatever, you can suspend your disbelief. You're like, yeah, this is gross, but like there's no one really like this. But like that church person, and there are
Right.
children in there. Like isn't there like a pregnant woman in there, like an expectant mother in there? You're like, oh my god, like this
Well,
she felt.
I think it's Heath Ledger's wife, isn't she the
Yeah.
one that's expecting a child?
Yes, that's right. And then poor, oh my god, like his character, like he catches up with Jason Isaacs, and you're like, yes, like he's the young rebel, like he's kind of been doing his own way, doing things his own way, but now, and then he gets the spoilers again for a 20-year-old movie, like he gets killed, like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my god, like what's Mel got left? The only thing weird about the whole film, the only thing I struggle with is that he ends up like marrying his wife's sister or like hooking up with his wife's sister.
Right.
But I was like, it's the 1700s, okay, like I guess, like
That
that was
stuff happened, right?
that
But
was
you,
the only thing I brushed up against. But like everything else, I was like, this is incredible. Yeah, I forgot about that church sequence. That's harrowing.
and
That's
I
for
think
sure.
you brought it up too, where you did, is that even though, Mel Gibson, spoiler alert for a 25-year-old movie, like you said, even though Mel Gibson wins and he takes down the guy that killed his sons, like, what's he got left? Like, yeah, he still has some of his family, but look what the hell this guy just went through.
Yeah, and I feel like I was really not disappointed, but this, I guess, like the sadist in me, the horror movie fan, wanted more comeuppance for Jason Isaacs' character. I was like, like no matter what you do, the suffering isn't enough. Like he's done so many horrible things, and he kind of gets off pretty scot free. Like, yeah, he might bleed out and it might hurt for a bit, but like compared to what he's done to so many people, the guy
Hmm.
got off way easy. And I'm not like a like a pro execution guy or anything like that. But when it comes to my movies, I want my bad guys to suffer, and like I just felt like he got away pretty clean. Um, Sadly,
What
yeah.
does Mel do? He stabs him with the American flag, then sticks the bayonet in his throat.
That's true. Yeah,
Dude, that's
yeah,
American as fuck.
yeah. Like the only thing like he could have done was like then throw him into like a KFC deep fryer or something, and like put like a sparkler in him. That would be the model equivalent. But
I was thinking chuck him off the Statue of Liberty.
yeah.
Freedom rings today.
Off the Statue of Liberty somehow onto the Washington Monument, even though they're on completely different areas of the country, like just to make it really American. Uh,
Right. It's like a Planet of the Ape thing where they all got washed together.
yes. I was going to say, like, this is actually gonna be a really good segue because talking about Gladiator, talking about that, it reminded me of like how the early 2000s was so ripe with historical revenge stories. Like we
Yeah.
just went through this thing, and the movie we're going to talk about today is another one of those. It's maybe less like it is kind of like it's fiction, but there are
Hmm.
historical elements. Because when I reached
Sure.
out to you and I said, "Hey, what do you want to talk about?" I was like, maybe we could talk about like movie adaptations of books. I'm so clever. I was like, he writes books. Maybe he wants to talk about movies based on books.
You
And
put two and two together.
I was like, this is going to be a stretch, but like, um, and then you were like, well, I have never seen this adaptation of my favorite book, The Count of Monte Cristo, and I was like, perfect. Let's talk about that. That because that came from the same era, 2002 era
Yeah.
revenge historical movie. Um, so you watched The Count of Monte Cristo for the first time, and I rewatched it for the first time in 20 years. But before we jump into the movie itself, you said it's your favorite book. Tell me about that because I've never read it.
Yes. Well, before we do that, can I bring up another movie I love that's a
Yes.
historical revenge-esque story? I think I brought
Yes.
it up the first time I said The Last Samurai came out
Yes, of
2002 as
course.
well.
Yeah. We had a
Oh,
fascination with it as a culture. We were like, we want revenge stories. We want this dish served cold, but put it against the tapestry of history, please.
right.
Not in the modern day. I think maybe because the early 2000s was such a tumultuous time. Like, for those who weren't born yet, or those who don't remember, like, September, like, without getting too political, September 11 like changed everything. Like
It did.
even movies. I remember there was a
Mhm.
trailer for the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man, or a poster, sorry, and he'd webbed up the Twin Towers,
Mhm.
like and then the movie like was meant to come out right around the time September 11 happened. That marketing got pulled so quickly. They were like, nope. And it's so weird now going back and watching movies from pre 2001. Like that skyline is very different. But
And very prominently featured in a lot of stuff.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I wonder
Well,
whether
have
maybe because of that, we were all very bloodthirsty. Like we were all very on edge. We were all very much like I just make it sound like it was like an apocalypse. It wasn't, but there was very much a Western civilization versus the rest of the world mentality. Like it was, if you look
Hmm.
at the media from back then, like it was very much like we need blood, we need to like that like war's gonna break out, and like there was war, but I think they were like worried it's gonna be like World War III and stuff. So I wonder whether the media was like, let's focus on different time periods. Like yes, we can have our revenge, let's do that, but let's maybe move it to somewhere that's a little bit more distracting. Let's think about something that's not in our backyard and stuff like that. I wonder if that was kind of part of the motivation because yeah, we had a lot of revenge films, but none of them present day. It was very much like let's go back into the pages of history.
It's true too, because I know a lot of, like you said about Spider-Man, a lot of video games had to be changed to, prime example, Grand Theft Auto 3. They
Mm,
tried to do, they switched it up so that it didn't resemble New York as much. They changed the police car's color and just
mm.
little things like that. Have you heard the term post 9/11 filmmaking?
Um, I mean, I've heard of it, but not used as a particular style of filmmaking. I've just heard of like post 9/11 film, but I haven't heard of it used
Gotcha.
as like a brand or whatever.
Yeah,
Is so this is the thing, is it?
well, I've heard it a few times,
Mm,
and I don't think it's like a real genre, but I think you can see what they're getting that at. I
yeah.
always use The Dark Knight. I always think of that when I hear that term
Mm,
because The Dark Knight, I mean, the Joker is a terrorist
yeah,
in
absolutely.
right? So I don't think if you had 9/11, that movie would have hit the way it did because you saw in real time, in real life, if you were around in 2001, what something like that would be. So
Mm,
you have the Joker, who's like this terrorist guy. You have all of Gotham in a panic. You have people
mm,
trying to escape on boats, but the bridges are closed. And
mm,
I think all of that really goes into it. And yeah. And I mean, I think it would be a reason why a lot were set in the past. I mean, they were doing it in 1999, 2000, like when Gladiator and Patriot came out. But maybe a reason why they set it in the past too is because you think of movies like Die Hard, where buildings
mm,
are exploding and terrorists
mm.
are taking over everything. Like, nobody really wanted to see that in the modern age after 9/11 happened. So that might be why they chose to set a lot of these movies in the past.
I agree. Like, I think 2 points. I'll come back to Die Hard in a second because I just rewatched all of the Die Hard films, and
Nice.
I noticed some of that. But I think like also there's a reason why the villains in the first Iron Man film are from the Middle East. I think that is a
Oh, yeah.
reaction to the cultural landscape because if you look at like action films, there's always a region like there's always a villain, and like in the '80s it was Russia. Um, and look, honestly, probably the next couple of years will probably be Russia again. Oh, no, you know what it'll be? It'll be America. America will be America's villain in the next couple of years. It'll all be like espionage, like that sort of thing.
Double
Um,
agents.
yeah, it'll be that. Like China was the enemy for a long time. So there's always an
Hmm.
international villain. Like Germany has always been a great source. And then yeah, post 9/11, it became Middle East. But to your point about Die Hard, it's interesting because I just rewatched all of them. And the first three are set pre 9/11, and the
Hmm.
last two are post 9/11. I'd like five, I can't really include. There's five, like, it's kind of its own thing. But the first three, there's a very like it's an action film. It's a one man army against terrorists, but it's also fun. It's got that kind of like '80s action film fun to it. Like there's one liners, there's a bit of tongue in cheek humor and stuff like that. And John McClane is, I think, at his heart, a good guy. Like he's
Hmm.
killing people left and right, but he's killing the right people, so we like him. Die Hard 4, or Live Free or Die Hard, which is a post 9/11 film, is so different. Like it's still a great movie, it's still an enjoyable film, but like it's a very suspicious film. It's a very like you don't know who you can trust type film. Like there's digital terrorism and stuff like that, but also unlike the first three films, John McClane is mean. Like he's cruel in this film. Like you'll see um he kills a woman and then like makes a really off-color remark about her nationality to her boyfriend, and I'm like, this is like,
Damn.
yeah, it's really
That's
strange.
cold.
It's really strange.
Well, if I
Like,
can jump in a second,
go for it,
what
yeah.
you're what you're making me think of is the Rambo movies.
Mm.
Like First Blood, very much a drama movie with some action in it. The second one, over the top action. Third one, over the top action. So over the top that it is kind of borderline and goofy when you
Mm.
rewatch him. I mean, he shoots a guy with an arrow and he explodes. Like that's crazy. Now, if you saw those and then, like I did, saw the Rambo from 2007, that is a dark movie. Like,
I
it
haven't.
is
I've
not.
actually the Rambo
Oh,
franchise is actually a larger mission. I've seen First Blood, but I
okay.
haven't seen the rest. So yeah, it's a
Well, the
larger mission.
second,
Yeah.
yeah, so the second two, very over the top action. Stallone's all roided up,
Mm,
dropping one liners and stuff. The Rambo from 2007, like I said, very dark, very
mm,
gritty, insanely gory. I'll give you an example. It starts out, I believe it takes place in Burma or somewhere like that in Southeast Asia. But basically, this military, paramilitary group or whatever has these villagers and they have them at gunpoint. And these villagers have to walk across this rice paddy field. The thing is, in the rice paddy field, it's just filled with landmines. So there's like women and children and men
Oh
just
wow.
exploding. It's and the ones that don't explode just get gunned down. It's like
Yeah.
this
Is
is not
it?
the fun John Rambo, part two fighting the Viet
Yeah.
Cong. It's like whoa.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there have been a couple. Like yeah, I've noticed where like the tone change. But yeah, I didn't. Because I remember really liking Live Free or Die Hard. I was like, man,
Hmm.
this like rocks, and I haven't watched it in a few years. And like especially watching it back to back, I was like, oh, like this is a reactionary film. Like this is reacting to what
Hmm.
happened a few years earlier. That, and I know that apparently Bruce Willis was not the most pleasant person to be on set. I'm sure that didn't help the tone either. Although now that we know about what's been going on in his personal life, I get it. I'm like, oh my god, like the dude was
Hmm.
suffering and had no one to talk to about it. But yeah, tonally, it's so different. It's almost like two different franchises. It's like
Hmm.
the first trilogy is like the fun, like the one that we can all get behind and have a good time with, and then like this dark one, and then the fifth one's just is kind of not memorable to be honest. It's
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, I brought up the Dark Knight, but if you look at Batman pre 9/11, it was
Mm.
Caesar Romero, I believe was his name, being all goofy as the Joker in the 50s, and then you had
Yeah, yeah.
Jack Nicholson in 89, a little bit darker, but still pretty slapstick, kind of
Mm,
goofy. And then you look at the Joker from 2008, and there
mm.
is nothing slapstick or cheesy about that guy. Like he is
No,
there for
there are a couple
business.
of jokes that land, but they're very cruel. Like they're not
They
like, hey,
are, yes, it's very mean spirited.
yeah, that's not like, hey, we're having a good time. Yeah, it is interesting. Like you watching the media and stuff from there, and like there's plenty of like wonderful, like lighthearted, fun stuff as well. Like it wasn't completely dour,
Mm,
but if you look at those
sure.
action films, yeah, like,
Yeah,
and that's a Batman. Although like that's a more merciless Batman. Like he's not
sure.
so worried about being the good guy. Like
Well,
he's
look at
got,
the Joker's plan in the 1989 one. He's like, I'm going to put stuff in cosmetics and make people die from smiling.
yeah.
In 2008 one, he's like, I'm going to blow up a fucking hospital.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And like there's definitely an element of it where I think like comic book fans have been like, look, we want like the comics grew up in the '80s, like they were like for kids for a long time, but in the '80s they took this large step forward and they became a lot more mature. So like we want our movies to reflect what we've been reading. We want a darker Batman, but I certainly don't think the events of the world kind of they definitely played a part in it as well for sure. Um, and interesting knowing what's going on here. Okay, I don't know. My old man's messaging me, but I'll give him a call back later. Um, where was I? I think it's also
Oh,
interesting being made by Nolan, and it's a
yeah.
UK filmmaker's kind of interpretation of the character as well. And like obviously his observation of the world at that time is going to be very different from someone who was living in America. So it's again kind of shot through this additional prism of like I'm an outsider looking in. This is who I think Batman needs to be through my lens, which I think is quite
Hmm.
fascinating. Um,
I never realized Nolan was from the UK. I knew
yeah, yeah,
Christian Bale was.
yeah. Nolan's a British filmmaker. Yeah. Another guy
Man.
who never went to film school. Him and Tarantino never went to film school. It's crazy that two of the most prolific filmmakers of our time never like sat in a class ever. They're like, we got it. We know what to do. Like, we'll figure it out.
Oh man, it's like we were talking about with college. Yeah, everything I learned in television and broadcast media, I could have just walked in the news station and learned day one. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is how you write a script. This is how you work the cameras. This is how you work the audio board. Like,
Mm.
I learned all of that by doing it in a TV station. I didn't. While I'm thankful I went to journalism school for all the people I met and my mentor and all that, I could have done this stuff just walking in. It wasn't crazy. I didn't need a medical degree. I wasn't doing surgery. Like,
Yeah.
here, hit this button.
Well, you know the trick, because I've worked in recruitment before. The reason why they care about degrees more often than not is they just want to know that you'll
I do know.
stick with something. Like, can you
Yes,
stick to,
commitment.
yeah, can you commit to something for
Right.
a number of years? That's really what they're looking for. It's like the degree is
Mhm.
almost, yeah. Obviously, medicine stuff like that. Probably good to read those books. But like when you're a couple of dopes like us, man, like.
Right.
Um,
All we have to do is talk and be entertaining, and hopefully a little bit charming.
Yeah, and like even if we're only entertaining each other, like which is probably
Right.
the case more than anything else. All right. So Count of Monte Cristo, you were like, I've never
Yes.
seen it. It's my favorite book. I've never read the book, so I'll defer to you for the expertise there. Um,
Okay. I am by no means an expert, though. Keep in mind, I read this about 6 or 7 years ago, and it is a book that was written in 1800s
mm,
French and translated into English. And I'm not that smart, so I got from it what I got from it, and watched a video and read a summary. So hopefully, I have an idea of what I'm talking about. It was a good refresher. It was a good refresher. I did
That's
read
how
the
I
whole
feel.
thing.
That's how I feel about my favorite book, though. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it is my favorite book anymore. But for the longest time, when people ask my favorite, it's The Great Gatsby. I think The Great Gatsby is a
Oh,
really well written novel. I haven't
I
touched the thing
love Great Gatsby.
in years, and like I don't know that I understand all of it either. Like I had to study it for school, and it just so happened I really loved studying. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But like I couldn't tell you verbatim. Might have only read it like a couple of times, if that. Like I haven't read it a lot, but it's just
Mm,
it just had that kind of profound effect. Sorry, no, my favorite book is When Once We Loved. That's my favorite book.
there
Sorry.
we go. Yes, that's the correct answer.
Um,
I do love Great Gatsby, and I mean, you
mm,
can look at similarities there to Monte Cristo. Gatsby was
yeah,
really a nobody in the army. He fell in love with this girl, and she was a rich person. He was basically a poor guy. So what he do? He made a fortune doing shady stuff and came back as Gatsby. And
yeah. They just reinvented themselves. Like it's this kind of these two
yes,
stories of transformation. And what I love, and actually, you could probably make the argument for both of them. But what I love about Count of Monte Cristo is it's a revenge story where all of his training came from reading books. Like
mm,
he didn't like yes he had to study how to fight and stuff like that, but really the way that because he was this kind of like uneducated illiterate guy who was in the army or whatever, and the way he gets his revenge is by reading. It's
mm.
like
I never thought of it that way.
what a great advocacy for like picking up a book is like.
Well, do you know another book that's like that? I don't know if you've ever read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
No, it's on my list. Like I know I've got to read it. Like the classic monster books, I have to. Like I've never read Dracula. I went and saw
Mm.
Nosferatu this year, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back and read Dracula. I read one page, fell asleep, and then I never went back to it.
I
Like
want to
that.
ask you about not. I want to ask you about Nosferatu, but Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is
Mm,
similar to what you just said about Edmond Dantes in Count of Monte Cristo. Frankenstein, the monster in the book, he's actually intelligent. He
yeah,
learns the English language by reading Paradise Lost by Milton, which awesome book. And he gets like all of his expertise there, and he goes into this town, and he's just like speaking on all these different things, but he's a thing made of dead body parts. So
yeah.
people are freaked out by him. But he got all of his knowledge and a lot of views on things from just reading Paradise Lost.
And wasn't, and I don't know if this is just like an internet thing or if it's actually true. I haven't done the research, but wasn't Mary Shelley like 16 when she wrote Frankenstein? That's what I heard. She was like incredibly
She
young when she wrote it, apparently.
so I forget how old she was. I think she was pretty young, because let's be real, people didn't live long back in like
Yeah.
1840 or
Yeah, that's
whatever.
true. Like she was basically like an old hag. Like, okay, good. Like, to make me feel better about myself, and
Old
because I,
cat lady at the age of 16.
yeah, she was on her, she was on her deathbed. She was like, before I go. Um,
But there were a lot of weird deaths in her life. Like her one husband mysteriously drowned in a lake. I think
mm.
somebody else close to her met a similar fate. It's like, she a murderer?
I mean,
That's
also like, doesn't Frankenstein drown a girl in a lake? Like, stop putting
in
the
the movie.
evidence in the movie, not in the book. Okay,
In the movie, yeah.
um, stop
That's like
putting
that.
evidence.
That's like the right, leaving a paper trail.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, what did you think of Nosferatu, the new one?
Yeah, okay. I really enjoyed it for what it was. I knew that it was going to be I did some homework and I watched the original 1922 one last year. I actually picked it up while I
Mm.
was overseas, and knowing that the Eggers version was coming out, I was like, oh, I've always wanted to check this out. I'll watch this, and that way I can kind of look for some of those kind of touchstones and stuff like that. And I had heard a little bit. I'd heard that it was a little bit wacky at times, like it kind of leans into its original source material. So I think that was a good heads up for me knowing that. I really enjoyed it. I think it's my least favorite of his films, but also the dude made three of the best films of the last 10 years in his first three films as well. Like The Witch, I think, is almost perfect. I love it. The Lighthouse is so bizarre. And The Northman is such a great nihilistic take on what it means to be a Viking. Like, so
Man.
with this, I really like visually, I think it's stunning. I think that Lily Rose
Mm.
Depp got absolutely robbed in
Hmm.
awards season. Like, no one's talking about her performance. And she's doing the heavy lifting in that film. Like, the makeup is incredible, all the actors are fantastic, but she's doing all the hard work in that movie. Like, she's doing so much. So I really liked it for what it was, but it's probably my least favorite of his work. But I thought it was a cool take on it. Um, what about you?
I I did. I like the visuals of it
Mm,
first and foremost. Those were my favorite part. The costumes, the set designs, everything looked absolutely fantastic. The way it was shot, just gorgeous film to look at for sure. Where I had an issue with, well, right off the bat, it pissed me off. It said like Germany 1836 or something like that. Well,
mm.
Germany wasn't a country until the late 1800s, so that would be like saying
That's a
the
big mistake
South.
for Eggers. He's pretty good with history. Yeah.
So Germany was a region, but it would be like saying Southwest Australia. Like, okay,
Maybe he was like, look, audiences need some help. Maybe we'll just keep.
that I was gonna bring that up in Count of Monte Cristo. People are dumb, so he
Yeah.
probably did need to be like, look, this is where it's taking place.
Yeah.
But no, I thought the visuals were amazing. I thought the design of Nosferatu was cool. I liked that he was big and imposing. I thought that
Mm,
was a good touch to it. Like I said, I love Halloween too, when Rob Zombie's just this giant
yeah.
force.
Yeah.
So I did like that Nosferatu was this really imposing figure. Where I fell off with it, I thought Johnny Depp's daughter, I forget her name, even though you just said it, I think she did
Yeah.
a phenomenal
Yeah.
job
She's
on her
great.
parts and her monologues. Where it got to me was the dialogue between characters. It very much like, and I get that it's set in 1830s aristocracy Europe. They're not going to talk like we talk today.
Mm.
But even so, it felt to me like actor one says their lines, then actor two says their lines back, and then actor one says that really stood out to me. I don't hear that brought out much, but to me, that's what it sounded like and took me out of it a little
It's
bit.
a really good point, and I remember feeling that way before I saw Django. Because I remember
Mm,
I was like Django, and then The Hateful Eight as well. Because I was like, Tarantino's strength is
his
his dialogue.
dialogue.
People always attribute the violence to it, but it's not like the violence is cool and stylized. But the thing that makes his films memorable and hold up is the dialogue. And I was like, he doesn't have the tools of the modern era here. Like, going into Django, I was like, what's he gonna do? Going into Hateful Eight, which is even older, even further back, I was like, what's he gonna do? We don't have those kind of cultural landmarks to jump
Don't have
on.
Madonna.
We don't have that. So what's he gonna do? And he nailed it. It's like, oh well, no,
He
trust
did.
in the master. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, he doesn't need pop culture to make his movies fun. It just adds to those movies that he can use them on.
Mhm.
So I actually do agree with the dialogue. The other thing with Nosferatu, for those who don't know the history of Nosferatu, Nosferatu is a plagiarized version of Dracula. They wanted to make Dracula
Oh
in the
yeah.
1920s. They didn't have the rights, so they created something. Nosferatu is a made up word. It doesn't mean anything, but that's how they kind of got it right. Because the character's name is not Nosferatu, it's Count
Right.
Orlok. Um,
It's like a poor German translation of an old Eastern European term that means
yeah,
vampire. So
yeah.
it's like a shitty version of saying vampire in Yugoslavian or
Yeah, it'd
something.
be like calling it like the Justice Man team, like instead of the Justice League. Like it's like
Right.
that. Be like, what? The Justice Man team? Okay, can't wait to see Bortman. Let's go. Um, but the problem with it,
Calling Superman Power Guy.
yeah.
Come on.
Oh, I'd pay to see Power Guy. I think the thing that did struggle with the most, and I did like it. Look, this is not me like kind of crapping on it anyway. Like, I really enjoyed it. But Dracula at its heart is a love story. it's a love triangle. You've got Mina, you've got Jonathan Harkness, you've got Dracula, and between the three of them, like they're both pining for her, and she's torn between her love, for Jonathan and the manipulation of Vlad the Impaler. Like he's like manipulating her. So this weird love triangle. Robert Eggers doesn't really use emotion in his films. He's a very just the kind of he takes a step back. It's a very kind of they're not emotionally driven plots. They're very staccato. It's very much like this is what it is. Deal with it, and I'm not going to put too much heart in. And so it's a thematic choice, and it works really well because it kind of lets you kind of consume a lot of horrible imagery without getting too emotionally bruised. But
Mm.
Nosferatu being a Dracula story, even if it is a plagiarized version, is still a love story. Like there is that love triangle in here, but because he doesn't shoot it in that way, doesn't tell his story that way, I found it really hard to latch onto any of those characters emotionally. So I felt myself almost at arm's length from all of them. Like visually, it's very cool, but I could never emotionally invest in any of them because I didn't buy the love story. I didn't buy like there was none of that there for me to latch onto, I suppose. So that would be like my
That makes sense.
perhaps biggest critique of it. Still a great film. I was just like, it's the same. Feel the same way about Denis Villeneuve's sci-fi era. Like Denis Villeneuve did the Dune movies, he did Blade Runner 2049. Before that, he had this whole other career of doing non-sci-fi films. Like Prisoners is a wonderful film.
Oh my God,
Like
yes.
Sicario is an amazing film. Arrival, which is the beginning of that, but actually is quite emotionally driven. But I felt like with the Dune films, this is nothing for me to latch onto. I can't deny them like that they're visual masterpieces, but I just can't connect with anyone in that movie. So for me, like everyone's like, it's redefining cinema. And I'm like, maybe. Like I just don't really I just can't latch onto anyone. So if I can't connect to the characters, it makes it harder for me to kind of get emotionally invested. So Nosferatu was kind of like the Dracula version of Dune for me. Like it looks like like it's stunning to look at. There's no doubt this guy's a master of his craft. I just can't connect with the characters. So that was um, my biggest critique, I think, of Nosferatu, but still really well done.
I was curious too about how Nosferatu even or Count Orlok even emerged. Like one night, Mina is just lonely, and she sends it out in the ether that she doesn't want to be lonely, and that somehow gets to Count Orlok, and now he's.
Don't question Robert Eggers, just accept it. Yeah, it's a really good point.
I mean, it's not much. It's not much better in the book. I mean, the guy's going there to make a real estate deal with Dracula. I mean, it makes sense in the end because he's buying real estate in England. But it's like, is a 1,000-year-old vampire really
Why
care
is
that
it
much?
always like even Salem's Lot? It's a vampire doing a real estate deal. What is it with vampires
I
and
guess
property?
vampires are a hell of a businessman.
We're gonna find out that McDonald's and the Catholic Church are under the under the lead of vampires. That's why
Oh, there's been
there's no garlic
Dracula
in
this
those
whole time.
burgers. Like
Garlic in the burgers.
yeah, that's why there's no garlic in them. Like onion fine, but garlic, yeah. Also, why there's no
But yeah,
McDonald's. Okay.
why there's no.
But I think it's a great plot twist that they own the Catholic Church. They're like, oh, you thought religion was our enemy. We've been manipulating you for millennia.
That would actually be that'd be a good movie to make. That we find out all this mythos around vampires that they can't be around crosses and they're allergic to garlic and they can't go out in sunlight is all a ruse and they invented the Catholic Church.
They did do that. It was called Twilight. So take that.
Did they really do that in Twilight?
Yeah, like in Twilight,
No
in Twilight, the reason they can't go in the sun isn't because it kills them; it's because it makes them sparkle.
I did hear about the sparkle.
Yeah, but I think they can eat garlic in it. And the one cool thing I will say this, like, because I've read a couple of those Twilight books, because when they came out, my wife was part of the frenzy. Like, she got way into it. And the one thing I did like about it, which no one ever talks about, is that the way they kill vampires in those books is not a stake through the heart. The only way to kill a vampire in the Twilight universe is you have to tear the bodies apart limb from limb and burn the pieces. And I was like, that's pretty metal. Like, why are we talking about that? Like, that might be the most brutal way to kill a vampire I've ever heard. Like,
yeah, nobody told me about that. They just complained about the sparkling.
Yeah, like yeah, like like the most of the content is just kind of like soppy, like YA love stuff, which by the way is not a crime. Like it's like Michael Bay. Like Michael Bay makes movies for 14-year-olds. Like those books are clearly like he said it. He said it himself. He goes, my biggest crime against cinema is that I make movies for 14-year-old boys. Like what's wrong with that? And I was like, you know what? Dude knows his audience. Not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
Same with Twilight.
Like hell of a special effects.
Yeah, I'm not the audience for Twilight, but that tearing up people and burning them into pieces, like that's kind of cool. Like, why are we talking about that more?
Yeah, that's like stuff out of the I Am Legend book. Like he
Yeah,
can kill them with stakes through the hearts, and he does. But I think there's an element that he does like burn them all, and
yeah.
I like that. I like the. Well, I like that about zombies too. Like
Mm.
you have the typical Romero Resident Evil one shooting the head and they die. I like the ones in movies like Return of the Living Dead where you
Mm.
can take their head off and they're still coming at you.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I like that sort of stuff. I like it when anyone tries to add a new spoke to the wheel, like because they've been
Yeah.
like we've been doing it forever. Like because despite most people's understanding of zombies, they weren't invented by George Romero in the '60s. Like they've been part of like voodoo culture and stuff for like
Sure.
centuries. Like there's so much cool stuff. Like there's so much lore there, but it also means like everything has been done. So when someone can add something
Mm.
new to the lore, I'm always like, hats off. Like way to do something different with it. That's cool. Um,
Yeah, I was just in this author reader virtual book tour event and the one author's book, it's called Martha's Notebook.
mm,
And I don't want to say the wrong author's name, but it's called Martha's Notebook. And his spin on the zombie genre was to make these things AI zombies. And they had the technology to adapt to what the survivors were doing and their
mm.
tactics. So these zombies could evolve as the survivors thought of new ways to try to get out of this. I thought that was really cool.
Nice. I the first movie I ever wrote, which by the way never got made either. I was in it was my first year of university, and I was like, I'm gonna start piecing it. And I wrote a zombie movie, and my take on zombies was they don't like the once if you got bitten, like you didn't die straight away. So like basically, the idea was that when zombies kind of walk around mindless and stuff like that, it's because they basically just gave up the will to live. Like if you fight, you can kind of keep your consciousness and stuff like that. So like in the story, like a guy and his four best friends get attacked. He doesn't get bitten, but the rest of his friends do. But like he wakes up the next morning and they're just like shoot and pull. They're like, oh no, we're still like we're still with it. Like we haven't turned. But like they started losing muscle control. So it was very much meant to be like a comedy. So they're like a
Yeah.
terrible shot and stuff like that because they can't move their arms properly, but they can like their personality is still there within them and stuff. I'm like that was like just trying to do something different. Um,
Mhm.
so add that to the list of movies I never made. And then
I know.
someone made a zombie movie very similar to what I had come up with and made it way better. This movie called Deathgasm. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's
Oh my god,
so
dude!
my
Kevin over on Midnight Terrors. I watched that one for an episode we were gonna do.
because the movie that I wrote in 2007 was the way that the curse fell on the town was they went to a record store and they found like some guitar sheet music like on this like ancient manuscript, and if you
Yeah.
play it, it basically puts a curse of the undead on people, and like
Mhm.
that was what it was. And then Deathgasm was basically the same thing, except instead of that they found a record or whatever. And I was like, oh my god! I remember telling my buddy, I was like, hey, have you seen Deathgasm? And if you have, like, does it sound familiar? He goes, oh my god, you wrote that movie. I'm like, I didn't write this movie. Like, I think this is the perfect example of like like Volcano and Dante's Peak. Like, two people had a very similar idea at the same time. But like, what if I had have made my version? It would have been nowhere near as good as Deathgasm. So like, Deathgasm is amazing.
Well, no, that's how it does spread. If you remember, they do find that song that was written,
Yeah,
and then they play it, and
yeah.
that's where the town gets cursed. Dude, that's crazy.
Isn't that insane? Like, and I've got it. Like, I've still got it. I've got a printout from 2007. Like, so, um, I don't know if it's dated and stuff like that. And I've probably got a digital copy somewhere because I know people will be like, "Did you, or did you just copy it?" Like, no, like legitimately, like in 2007, I wrote that, and you can tell because it's really poorly written. Like, it's not good. Like, I'm still learning to be a writer. I mean, you're always learning to be a
Mhm.
writer. Like, but it's like at 36, I couldn't have put together how terribly written that was in 2007. But
I
like, it's
couldn't try to do that.
yeah, but like, it's interesting. It's like, wow, like so similar. Like to have come up with like a
Yeah.
concept so close. But those guys like knocked it out of the park. Like they had
Mhm.
like, yeah, they like I could never have done what they would attempt. Like mine, like the climax of my version was very like milk toast. It was very like boring and stuff like compared to that.
You weren't
Um,
shoving dildos in zombies' mouths.
no dildos in my movie. No.
Dude, when
Um,
they broke those out, I was like, this is ridiculous, but I love it.
yeah,
The closest
it's a
the
great flick.
closest thing I had to something like that is my first novella, April Awakening.
Mm.
It's about this guy that's lost in the woods, meets this girl, there's like ghostly stuff going on. Somebody told me they're like, this really reminds me of the girl who loved Tom Gordon. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, oh,
Oh,
it's a
that's a great short story.
that's what I
Yeah.
hear. People are like, it's a Stephen King story. I'm like, I've never heard of this. And I looked up a summary for it. I'm like, huh, I can see the similarities. Even though I had no idea this piece of work existed before I made mine, there's definitely some similarities there. It's just weird how that can happen. Like, are we coming up with this stuff? Are we
Mm.
pulling it from somewhere? Is it just out in the ether and we're just tuning into a certain frequency? I don't know. I'm not trying to get
Mm.
all woo woo hippie bullshit, but it's weird to think about how so many people can have similar ideas like that.
Yeah, well, there's only a limit to how, it's not the I guess the base story because I think like there's only don't they say there's only like seven types of story or something? I can't remember what it is, but there's like
Mm,
only seven types of story. But then it's just like those embellishments you put on how you kind of make it your own. So it's always a kind of spooky when you say that. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, I would say for me is the Stephen King film that scared me the most, and it's not even a horror
mm,
story. Um, so basically, it's
hmm,
about a family who go out like on a hike, and they've got like a 7-year-old, 8-year-old girl with them. She might be a little bit older. Their daughter's like 7 or 8 years old, and she
mhm.
strays from the path for a moment, and then she's lost in like the untamed wilderness for like 3 days, and the whole
Oh,
time, and you're like, this kid isn't old enough to have survival skills. And look, I had just become a parent as well. It like messed me up. I was like, oh my
I
god.
bet.
I was like, that kid is never. Like, finally understood why in the 2000s parents put their children on leashes. I was like, oh my god, like I'm gonna just strap this kid to my back the whole time. Like I can't let up. It was terrifying. Like more than anything else he'd written, like that one like hit really
Mhm,
close to home. I was like, wow, like, and yeah, I never hear anyone talk about that one either. Like no one talks about
mhm.
the Girl Loved Tom Gordon, but that one messed me up like more than like The Shining or like Carrie or It, and it's pretty messed
Uh-huh.
up. But yeah.
It's a while. Well, I've never actually read it. I've only read, I think, like 4 or 5 Stephen King books,
I remember
and
you telling
three
me
of
that
them.
last time, and I was
Yeah,
surprised because I find your writing style to be quite like his.
I've
Um,
heard that before.
mm.
People have said that, and like I am okay. I like to pick at Stephen King because I think he's so full of his own bullshit, and
That's why I
he's
like him. I like he's very. I think he's
oh,
self-aware enough
oh, it's so pretentious.
because in his, I read on writing because like this,
Oh, I did too.
which I think is a really good memoir. I really like it, and he sets out the rules. He's like, if you write X amount of words per day in 3 months, you've got a like a 180. No, it was like a 1800-page novel or something like that. I was like,
Mhm.
sure. But like, what if I don't want to write an 1800-page novel? And then he's like, you only do two drafts. You do your first draft, and I like that rule
Mhm.
quite a bit. You do your first draft, and then you
The
type,
first draft is for you. The second draft is for the audience, right?
which I really like that because I never liked doing drafts. I was like, no, first one's good enough, and I was wrong. But then like I would find myself doing like 10, 12 drafts, and I'm like, at a certain point, you just got to let the story speak for itself. So I liked that. But then in his book, he was also like, now these are the rules that I try to follow. I think these are the rules we should all follow. I break these rules all the time. I was like, okay, well, at
Mhm.
least he's like self-aware enough to know
Yeah.
that he is full of himself a little bit. But I'm sorry, I stepped on you there. What were you
No,
saying?
you're good.
Because you like to pick apart Stephen King. You were saying.
Oh yes, my brother is always a big Stephen King fan. We always try to shit on each other, so I go after Stephen King a
Mm,
decent amount. But I mean, the stuff I've read by him, I enjoy. I think he's a phenomenal writer in the
mm,
sense that his work is very accessible, very easy to read, while still being these deep, impactful stories. So I've read Pet Cemetery, The Shining. Those were the first two, and then this past year I've read The Dead Zone, Gerald's Game, and Misery. So I've read 5.
Misery is great. I really like. I like the book and the movie. I think they're both like exceptional. Like they're really good.
I started watching the movie with my brother and I got halfway through. And if I'm not watching a movie for a podcast and like feverishly taking notes, I will fall asleep like I did last
Mm,
night during Monte Cristo almost. So I didn't make it through Misery, but the book was good. I just remember at one point, I was still enjoying it. but it's like he gets kidnapped basically in February, March, something like that.
Mm.
And I'm reading it. I'm like 300 pages in. He's like, "Well, now we're in May." I'm like, "All right,
Yeah.
it's been going on 2 months. This has got to be wrapping up soon." I look to see how much I have left. It's like 150 pages.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What? What is this? How long are we going to go for, man?"
If I remember correct, I've only read the book once. I really enjoyed it. I do prefer the movie. Um,
Mhm.
but I think what happens is the time period starts getting shorter, but we spend more time in moments. So like
Okay.
the idea, like he'll dedicate like 20 pages to trying to escape, for example, and like so then like
Mhm.
suddenly like yes, the time period is getting shorter. We're getting to the end, but it's taking long because we're almost experiencing it in real time. It kind of moves up a little bit like that.
Right.
Because I think
I
that
can see that.
yeah, because I think like kind of the climax of that story takes about 50 pages, if I remember. Like a huge chunk of it is just
Mm.
like that final kind of like showdown, if you will, and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And it
And it's
goes like it
broken
goes
into
on.
like
It
two
goes.
chapters.
Sorry.
And it's broken into like 2 or 3 chapters as well.
Mm.
That
I
final showdown.
also the thing that like shocked me with Stephen King, 'cause I was so late to reading his stuff, is the rules he has with chapters. Like some chapters is like just a sentence, and I'm like, huh. I've never seen that before. And it really like kind of brushed against me for a while. And then once I
Mm.
got used to his style of writing, I'm like, all right, so like okay, that's kind of his thing because I've never seen it anywhere else. Like
Mhm.
most people, like a chapter needs to be like 7 to 10 pages, whereas he's like, a chapter can be as short as I need it. Sometimes it's 3 words. I'm like, that is only Stephen King would be ballsy enough to do that. Um,
And then it was May. Next.
yeah, I tried doing it once and I was like, I feel dirty doing this. Nope, it's got to be longer.
Right.
Okay, so Count of Monte Cristo, which I think
Count of Monte Cristo.
we mentioned an hour ago. So it's your favorite book. I've never read
Yes.
it. But so what is it about the book that you love so much? Like, obviously, I love the film. Like revisiting, I had a really good time with it. But what is it about the book that really kind of why is it in the pantheon? This is the one you hold highest.
I would say probably it is just a masterclass, not just in writing, but really storytelling
Mm.
overall and the story that it does tell.
Yeah.
It's I've called it like the blueprint for every revenge story that we see these days.
Mm.
Because you have a guy, Edmond Dantes, he's just got a promotion, he has good friends, he's got a beautiful fiance, like he has all this stuff going for him. And then in a blink of an eye, it's all taken away from him.
Yes.
And then he goes away, he reinvents himself. But even though he has all these riches and he could easily just go anywhere and move along, he chooses to say, "No, I want revenge on these people who wronged me."
Mm.
And I feel like that is such a human,
Yeah, the
relatable story.
pettiest of petty. Like, my life is better than it could ever have been, but I need these people to know it. Like,
And it's crazy because that's probably the reason why it's my favorite is just the story it tells,
mm,
the writing, and I mean, like I said, I have the unabridged version, which it was a serial in not like in food cereal, but like a serialized story in a newspaper.
which I
So he
didn't
did.
know. I didn't know that was the case. That's a way. If you think about some of the classics, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, for example, was also that. Like, it's actually
Yep.
each chapter was a column in Rolling Stone, if I remember correctly.
A lot of the classics we know of were like
Mm,
that. I have a nobody can see it. I don't know why I'm pointing at
mm.
it, but I have to my left here a very, very thick volume of the quote unquote complete works of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't just sit down and write all of that. It's a collection of works that appeared in newspapers and magazines and
Yeah.
various things over time. So many of the classics we know and love were serialized in that format. They weren't all written to be a book. And there's something cool about that. Like, how cool would
Mm.
it be to get the morning paper each week and be like, oh, cool, there's a new chapter of Monte Cristo. Let me read this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's almost like, the only kind of modern version of that that has kind of still delivers that way is comics.
mm,
The idea of a serialized story, like every week or every month you get a new issue of
mhm,
Batman or whatever, and then it's like, all right, the story continues.
yeah.
Um, it's interesting. Is it? I'm going to butcher the name. Is it Alexandre Dumas? Is that who wrote Monte
Mhm.
Cristo?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got Alexander Dumas.
There you go. Who also did? He had a type because he also did the Three
He did.
Musketeers, and gets
And the Man in the Iron Mask.
and the Man in the Iron Mask, which I think I've never seen, but I've got to check it out because Leo is as a swashbuckling hero. But
Yeah, I did see. I can't remember if I watched the whole movie or if we just watched part of it in school, but I remember really liking that one as well.
which is fascinating because then he went on to go play Calvin Candy in Django, who his character was a huge fan of Alexandre Dumas, like not knowing that it was a black guy. Like,
Right.
great little Tarantino kind of jump in there as well. Um, so this flick came out in 2002. I saw it in theaters. I remember like this
Mm,
would have been post my parents' divorce, and my mum started taking me to more mature films. So like it was really cool.
mm.
Like I got to see Ocean's 11 when I was like 12 years old, which is definitely not a film for 12-year-olds. She took me to see this. She took me to see a bunch of stuff. But I remember seeing this, not knowing anything about it, and rewatching it yesterday because without planning, we both watched it exactly the same time. You're like, I'm putting it on. I'm like, so am I. Um,
It's me being in Australian time again.
yeah, it was like 10 a.m. or something my time. It was like
Oh, really? It was
maybe.
like 8 p.m. here.
Yeah. So I'd like my wife and daughter had gone out for the day. I was like, oh, like time to watch. I've done a few chores. I'm like, time to watch Monte Cristo. Rewatching it, it's pretty brutal. I'm kind of shocked that she took
Mm,
me and was kind of cool with it afterwards because it's not excessively violent the way we experience films these days. There's not too much blood at all. But again, it's
mm.
from that kind of sensibility of like, no, we're gonna have some sword play. Like we're gonna have people get hung and stuff like that. And I don't know what it's rated. Like, is it PG-13 for you in America, or is it an R?
That is an excellent question. I think it struck me as it would be a PG-13 movie.
Mm.
I didn't see too much that would make it R-rated.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the
a lot
ratings
of
in
the
America are
themes.
so strange. Like sometimes you'll see
That's
stuff
true.
that gets an R. Like there's a movie came out last year, the 4:30 movie by Kevin Smith. It got an R
Uh-huh.
because they talk about masturbation, but
Oh, really?
there's no cursing in it. Like there's nothing, and it's like very like brief. Like yeah, rated R. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like that's insane. Uh,
PG-13.
there you go, PG-13. Um, incredible cast. You got Guy Pearce. I'm going to forget names, so you can help me fill in the blanks.
Oh
Um,
God, I'm terrible with actors.
yeah, you got Guy Pearce as the best friend who betrays him. Spoiler alert for a
Oh wow,
for a 300-year-old
Fernand.
book. For now, that's right. Jim Caviezel, who would go on to play Jesus as Edmond.
A
Um,
lot of people forget how big he was or how fast he was rising in this time period.
yeah,
Like
I
this was
think
his first major role, but after this he had a bunch of roles.
yeah, I think the passion kind of killed his career a little bit. I think
Yeah.
yeah. You've got Richard Harris, who plays the old man in the prison. I think his final role, he played Dumbledore in two Harry Potter films, and then did
No
this.
way.
Yeah, he was the first Dumbledore. Like that's who I knew him
Cool.
as, and I was like, that's Dumbledore. And like in those movies, that version of Dumbledore is very static. He doesn't do a lot. He doesn't
Mhm.
move around a lot and stuff like that. So to see him like crawling in tunnels and stuff, I'd forgotten how spry
Yeah.
he had to be. Like, and this is a guy at the end of his life, and the way he's like moving around, and like this is not a like there wasn't a stunt man for that. Like he was doing the
Mhm.
crawling himself.
Nice.
Um, Luis Guzman as is it Jacopo? Is that his name?
Oh yes. Dude, this is the guy that I always see. He's the guy you see in like
He's in
everything.
everything. He's in everything. This was the first time seeing him. Um, and I will say I love him in this movie. He
Mhm.
does feel very out of place. Like he's not putting on an accent like everyone else. He's just being Luis Guzman. He does feel out of place, but he's great in it. He's so fun and so like loyal. And then viewers will see
Well,
a
can I
very
just can I
go go
just
go.
say when they introduce him and he's laying face down and you find out who it is, I'm just like, no way, it's this guy.
Yeah,
But I love that it is. He,
and
he
he
adds
looks
so
like
much to it.
he looks like a ringleader in a circus half the time with his outfit, but he's so like fun in it. Um,
Oh,
and then you've got eagle-eyed viewers will see a very young Henry Cavill who plays
mm,
Albert. Like that's Superman, like 10 years before he played Superman.
okay.
Yeah. Um, I was shocked how fast this movie moved.
I
Like
know.
I was expecting it to be a bit of a chore. Like when you said let's watch it, I'm like, all right, cool. And I was like, man, I haven't watched this in 20 years. Like this might not hold up. But
Hmm.
the betrayal comes and goes within like 15 minutes. Like within 15, 20 minutes, he is in prison.
Hmm.
And like the ball starts rolling. This is your first time watching it. What was your, the long awaited first time viewing of Count of Monte Cristo? How was it for you?
Well, the first scene takes place where they're on Elba and they're running from the guards and they meet Napoleon.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, did I really mess up when I was reading this? Because none of this is familiar to me.
So
And
it's not from the book. Did they make it? They added it?
so, yes, the book starts as they pull into Marcellus, the port town where
Oh,
they
I
all
must say,
live.
yep, yep, yep.
That's where the book starts.
Mm.
So everything about them going to Elba and running into Napoleon, that's not in the book. So I was like, okay, I'm relieved there. I didn't totally screw up reading
Yeah.
this thing. Um, but I liked that they added it because it adds a little
Mm.
bit of action, a
Yes.
little more to the adventure, which is another reason why I love this book, is that adventure aspect to it. You're in France, you're in the islands, you're in the Mediterranean. It just goes to all these different places. And yeah, so it adds that little bit of action to it. It adds that adventure element. I will say the way things go down in this first scene, I'll say this. The biggest thing first is his best friend Fernand, who is also his crewmate.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a combination of three characters from the book.
Okay.
So Danglars, he is Edmund's crewmate. That's very similar. But from what I remember in the book, he was closer to Danglars than he is in the movie. They were
Okay.
boys, like him and Fernand were. Fernand was Mercedes' cousin, who was always in the military.
Yeah.
So he didn't go out on the ships or anything. He was just on the land. And then Fernand in the movie, you always see him drinking. Well, in the book, there's a character that didn't make it into the movie. His name is Cadaris,
Mm-hmm.
and he was Edmund's drunk neighbor. Who I like the Thug Notes summary from Wisecrack on Count of Monte Cristo. The guy in it says that Cadaris was hating just to hate. he didn't really he didn't really have a stake in anything, but when Danglars and Fernand come up with this plan to frame Edmund, Cadaris is there as well. So it's the three of them working against him. And from what I remember, I believe Edmund has letters from his captain when he gets off the boat. And his captain was like a Napoleon Bonaparte sympathizer.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it was a letter from Napoleon to the informant, but I know that his three so-called friends draft up a letter
Yeah.
as well. So a little bit of a difference I noticed right off the bat, but I didn't really mind it, especially because in the book there are dozens of characters and subplots. So to
Pretty
cut down on
common.
that,
Pretty common
hmm
for film adaptations to kind of like amalgamate some characters into one just to help
yep.
drive the plot forward. That's
And I
interesting
was
to know,
cool.
though. I'm actually glad they didn't have like three extra characters because there's quite a few. There's quite a few moving parts. Like it's not like
Yeah.
it's 2 hours and change, but it's not like there are quite a few characters like involved, and like they've
hmm
all got French names. And if you're not familiar with the French tongue, it's like Game of Thrones. Like, wait, that's the right person? I keep forgetting their
Sure.
names. So yeah, I don't mind that.
And that was another thing I enjoyed too. Is I was shocked to see it was only 2 hours. I'm like, oh, cool, because like this is a long story, so I was thinking like,
Mm,
man, it's gonna be like 2 hours 45 minutes, like, but
yeah,
it's like what 2 hours 10 minutes,
it's
and
two
it
hours
moves
10 minutes,
pretty
but
quick.
like there's like 5 minutes of credits, so it's not like
True.
super long.
Yeah, we'll say 2 hours.
Yeah.
But no, I was a fan of the pacing
Mm,
because it's a long story, so to see them be able to give you what's going on in that short amount of time.
mm,
Hey, this is Edmund. Hey, his friend screwed him over. Now he's going to prison because Villafort's dad is a Napoleon sympathizer as well. Like,
mm.
cool. I got everything I need to know in 15 minutes. It was explained well. And again, real quick, like I was saying with Nosferatu, another gorgeous movie to look at. The costumes, the
Mm.
sets, all good.
It really is like, and I think like I think this era of filmmaking, the 2000s, is my favorite film pacing. Like if I go back, because this is when I was watching film, and maybe it's because that's the era that I grew up in watching movies. But like I often find most older films move too slow, and it seems like most films these days move very very quickly because the audience just has less of an attention span. But like there's a moment like quite late in the film where um Edmond reunites with Mercedes and they're dancing like at a party or whatever.
hmm
And it's like this is this scene, like they wouldn't put this in a modern film. Nothing's happening. It's just them dancing, like they're kind of talking, and like yeah, like there's some plot stuff, but you could take this out and it wouldn't impact the plot at all. It was just like a really nice kind of just like still moment, just to kind of like enjoy the set, enjoy the costume design. Let's just take in the craft of making this film beyond the plot itself, and I really enjoyed that. But it stuck out to me. I'm like, oh man, like they'd probably this would be the first thing they'd cut if it was made in 2025. They'd be like, like this isn't driving the plot forward. Let's move ahead. That seems to be the kind of like the fast food version of filmmaking these days, where they're just like cranking it out as quickly as possible, get to the end of the story.
Mhm.
So I like that. Not that every film is doing that. Obviously, those auteurs and stuff are taking their time and telling well-made stories. But it seems like anything that's like a top 10 blockbuster, like cut out anything with meaning, just push it, get to the end. Okay, keep going. So I
We
like
don't
that.
need character development. Just get the climax.
Tell me about it, yeah. Unless you're doing a cinematic universe, in which case every film is its own own character development. So,
True.
yeah, I really enjoyed that, and you could see like the costumes were all handmade, and like that's like they really kind of paint wealth on him very well,
Yeah.
which I really liked. Sorry, I interrupted there for a second, but you were talking about some of the characters and stuff that you liked. You said that it was all condensed in the first 15 minutes, so.
Yeah, just the way it was all set up, and it was here's the plot, here's the betrayal, this is what's going to spark off the story, and then we just get right into it. He's shipped off to prison for
Mm.
something he didn't do, or at least wasn't complicit in.
Yeah, I really
Willingly.
like Villafort, who is the guy who basically arranges for him to get arrested and stuff, who kind of like organizes it. I can't remember that
He's the
actor's name.
prosecutor.
Yeah, I can't remember that actor's name, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. Like he's done a lot of TV work. Like he was a vampire in True Blood and like had a really cool arc
Mm,
in that. And he was also like a mobster in Gotham. I don't know if you've ever watched that show Gotham, like the Batman prequel, but he was really
I
cool in
never
that.
did.
Yeah, he was cool in that
Okay.
as well. He does show up from time to time. Um, the whole cast is really quite
Yeah.
exceptional. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was impressed. Like, here is one thing that I texted you about that I noticed in Nosferatu as well, and I'll
Mhm.
bring it up here. Is anytime America makes a movie that takes place in Europe, everybody immediately gets an English accent.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's although I'm trying to think how many American cast members there are because I don't know what Caviezel's nationality. And Guy Pearce is Australian.
Hmm.
So he's rocking, and the Oz does slip in like this, especially in this era of filmmaking when Australians start to make it
Yeah.
really big on the Hollywood scene. If you watch early Hugh Jackman stuff, if you watch early Mel Gibson stuff, that Australian accent always just slips in. We have a really hard we have a really hard time of maintaining consistency, apparently. Um,
Sure.
but Richard Harris is British. I think there are quite a few like British actors in there as well. So it might have
Hmm.
just been like, hey, it's like with Wonder Woman, like Gal Gadot couldn't do an American accent, so like everyone does Gal Gadot's accent. Like, that's what they did with that movie. Everyone had like a European accent.
I
I,
noticed it. I noticed it in Nosferatu also. Everyone's like, "Oh, hello, we just saw a vampire." I'm like,
it's
shouldn't
Germany.
these guys be? Yeah,
Yeah,
shouldn't these guys be talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Like, oh, the Das ist vampire.
yeah, um, yeah. I think look, that's the reality that Hollywood paints us, isn't it? But I don't mind
It's
it. Like,
it's just silly to me because I don't not to sound like a fucking pretentious douche like I can be, but I watch a lot of I watch a lot of samurai films that are made in Japan,
mm,
and it makes sense to hear samurais speaking Japanese because
mm.
Japanese dude in 1500s Tokyo isn't, or Edo, I guess it was called. He's not going to be speaking, Americanized Japanese. Like it's silly. So
It's
I don't
because
know.
in
It's just
2001, 2002, like a British accent was a foreign film for the American audience. Like, oh, this international prestige. Like,
Want to go see a
it's
foreign film? Yeah, it
yeah.
stars Jim Caviezel.
I think Australia still qualifies as an international film in the Academy Awards. I
It
think it
does.
was,
Yeah.
which is insane. It's like, I mean, technically, yes, we are international, but like,
Mhm.
I don't think that's what they mean when they say international. Although one could say we've butchered the English language so much that we don't count anymore.
Dude,
Um,
Australian accents are so awesome. I think they're the coolest.
I got mixed feelings about them, but that's just me. It's
Oh,
like,
really?
well, I'm gonna get in so much trouble. My opinion of the Australian accent, especially when it has that really like Southern drawl, I think is the way that New Yorkers or Californians would feel about, say, like a Louisiana accent or like a Tennessee
Okay.
accent. Like wherever, like I don't know where like rednecks are from. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't know, but like
Louisiana's good.
okay,
Alabama,
yeah, Alabama. There you
Mississippi.
go, Alabama. I think that would be kind of the equivalent to be like almost like
Like
a
a
redneck.
howdy, y'all.
Yeah, where it's
So
almost a different
is the
language altogether.
Australian is what you're referring to like the Crocodile Dundee thing?
Yeah,
Okay. Like
yeah, like it's very much like if
you call
people
that a knife.
yeah, we call them, so they're called bogans in Australia. That's kind of our version of
Okay.
redneck. And a bogan is someone who would be seen sporting a mullet, although that's kind of taking over as the national haircut of Australia.
Same.
Not
Yeah,
on
same
board
over here.
not on board with it. And they'd be drinking really cheap beer and like using an empty beer can as a utensil to smoke some sort of illegal drug. Like they'd
These
converted
guys sound awesome.
yeah. So like yeah, it's oh man, it's rough. But anyway, you don't see that in the Count of Monte Cristo. They're far too posh for that. Uh
Right.
my only
High
problem with the
society Europe.
yeah, my only problem with that film, and I messaged you as it happened, I was like, I'm digging this. I was like, but he's just arrived by hot air balloon through a field of fireworks. That feels unnecessarily dangerous for a guy who's about to get his revenge. Like that was a real style over substance moment in the film. I was like, if that if that balloon were to get hit, surely that's the end. Like that's going to explode, isn't it? Like, especially in the
Him and
1700s. Like,
him and all those trapeze artists that flew down the ropes. Dude's an exhibitionist.
it's such a satisfying. Like, I mean, the whole point I think of revenge films is you want to feel satisfied. You want to see like this character has been so wronged. We want to see like a satisfying end that kind of like justifies the journey and the suffering and stuff like that. Um, and I feel like this might be the best example of it. Like
Hmm.
every as I was watching that film, like every time someone got what they deserved, I had the biggest smile on my face. And like it's such like clever entrapment. It's not like something like I Spit on Your Grave, for example, which I don't think is
Yes.
justified. Like I can watch those films, like maybe not anymore. I haven't watched one of those films in a long time, but I used to be able to watch those films and be like, look, what happened to her was horrible, but you see how badly they got it. Like that was kind of an awesome punishment.
Hmm.
But it is just sheer brutality. Whereas this is like wit and mind games and like the way that he strips Fernand of his wealth and like
Yeah.
kind of control, like he's like make sure we own the bank or whatever, like stuff like that. Just like the way he kind of really like dresses him down and like really like it's so it's not just like, "Oh, I beat you up with a baseball bat, we're even." It's like, no, no, no. Like I'm going to like everything you know about yourself as your identity, let's dismantle you piece by piece because that's what you did to me. You
Hmm.
just didn't know it. Like it's so sophisticated. It's like a sophisticated revenge. I love it.
Well, I'll tell you about the outcomes in the book
Yeah,
versus
go
the
for it.
movie if you'd like to hear those.
Yeah, for sure.
So the first guy he kills is the guy that's only in the book, Catterus. He tries to rob Monte Cristo, and his butler, who is Jacobo in here, stabs him, so he's out.
Mm.
Fernand, who, like I said, was just a military guy, Mercedes' husband slash cousin, Jerry Springer episode.
Alabama. Apologies to
He had.
Alabama. I don't know.
I mean, one of his biggest episodes is kissing cousins. So Fernand was this high-ranking military guy after
Mm.
the 13 years that Monte Cristo was imprisoned, and he had he had an allegiance with this Turkish prince or something like that, some type of royalty in that area, and he sabotages them, and their family gets sold into slavery. Right, so this comes out in the courts, and everyone is against Fernand. So, like how Fernand took Mercedes away from Edmund, she leaves Fernand. So now Edmund has taken Mercedes and Fernand's son away from him.
Mm.
So when he's left with nothing, he puts a gun to his head and kills himself. It's a little
Yeah.
bit darker, a little bit darker in the book.
Yes. Yeah. That. Although I do feel like just like how I was talking about um, Jeremy Irons' outcome in The Patriot, I feel like whilst that point is darker, I still feel like that's the easy way out. Like I
Uh,
like I don't know what this says about me, but I like it when our wronged protagonist gets to deliver like every blow. Like I'm like, no, you need to get everything that was stolen. You need to take back with your bare hands. So, like, whilst it is probably darker that he committed suicide, that is pretty dark. I do like the way this one wrapped up in the film. I like that quite a bit.
I liked it better as well.
Oh, cool, interesting.
I like that we had that action fight scene between the main guy who framed Monte Cristo and himself because I don't know. I like a good fight, right? And they're
Yeah.
dueling, they're fist fighting, they have the swords. It was all really cool to see, and it's done in that really neat place. It's like in this English field. There's like ruins therein. I thought
I
that
was
was
gonna say,
really
like, there's ruins. Like, why are there ruins? Like, they don't need to be. Like, they're not fighting at Stonehenge. But I
so.
look
Then
like for those who are like, why does it sound awkward? I forgot my medication, and Roy's like, why am I
mm,
seeing your house? I didn't bring my medication with me, so you can see my kitchen. There you go.
I thought I was just getting the grand tour.
Yeah, like in the middle of a conversation, I'm like, "No, tell me, we'll like take you on tour. Um, yeah, that battleground scene was really cool.
Mhm.
And again, I think using like I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna forget what they're called, but that style of sword that they use, it's not like a lance, but it's like a.
It is a rapier.
That's the word I was thinking of. Yeah, yeah, like that kind of sword. Like the only way it
Yes.
could have been even more fun if it was like a musket with like, do you know what I mean, or like a blunderbuss or something.
Right.
Blunderbuss, the most underrated gun in all of history. Put a
Those
cannonball in
things, oh,
with
those things were badass.
yeah, man. The only reason I
Dude,
know
you
about them is because King K. Rool in Donkey Kong used it. Because the second game about monkeys and lizards was pirate themed for some reason.
I was
But
gonna say the pirates used a lot of blunderbuss, and they would just fill it with so much random shit.
yeah, um,
So then, Villefort in the
which maybe is my favorite revenge scene. I really like that. Stood out to me as a really great moment.
because in the movie, what he's exposed as murdering his father or
It's in
having
the
set up the
steam room,
murder.
and he just keeps turning the
Yes,
yeah, and like keeps building the pressure up, and like the steam is, spoiler alert for a 20-year-old film. The steam is used to kind of basically disguise all of the police coming in. Like
hmm
it's like it's literally like it's putting pressure on him. It's the kind of literally putting him under fire, and then also like, by the way, behind this blanket of smog, everyone's going to arrest you. Like yeah,
yeah, because he keeps talking him into admitting that he planned the killing of his father. And so in the movie, he like Edmund gets thrown into the jail carriage. In the book,
the
it's
same one
this.
that Edmund was put in, like which I really
Yes, I
like.
thought that
That
was
is
so good.
poetry. And talking about people killing themselves because that's the show we are now. I love that he gives him the gun and it's the fake out.
I
You're
know.
like, yeah, like you feels that easy. I'm like, yes, like oh yes, like that's exactly what I want. So, um,
So in
I'm a
the,
twisted individual. Uh,
it's not going to be that easy, Villefort.
yeah,
So in the book, what happens is Villefort's daughter. Do you remember the old ship owner who he has a soft spot for?
yeah. The one who is like, I believe you knew Edmond, and then like he's going to tell him that it's him, but then when he realizes like what's happened, he's like, oh, I'm not going to bring. My understanding
Yeah,
was like, I'm not going to throw this baggage on you. I'll just let you know that I'm dead. Like it's probably easier for
another
you.
great scene.
Really good. So, like that's the thing about this movie, and that's what I loved about it. Like it's a great action adventure film. Like I used the word swashbuckling before. Like it's literally like it feels like a pirate on the high seas type film. The best moments in this film are the dialogue scenes.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't need to be. You've got so much great action and like revenge and stuff. You could like have the worst dialogue and probably be a pretty decent film. But it's those conversations, like all the scenes in the prison with the old man are
Oh yeah.
wonderful. Like all that stuff. Yeah.
What really got me was it's been what 15 years and he's in the carriage with Mercedes and she's trying to reconnect with him and
Mm.
just the scenes between those two where he's obviously trying to put her in the past and she's just wanting answers or they're almost heartbreaking because it's like man they should have been together but
Yeah.
this cruel twist of fate made
And
it
he's
so.
also so stubborn that he's
I
like,
know.
well, the only reason she would be with him is because she didn't truly love me, like that sort of thing. And
hmm
it's fascinating because he's now an educated man. Like he understands nuance. He understands things now. His time in the prison has given him that that depth of understanding, but he's so like kind of like when I say simple, I don't mean like simple Jack, but like his motivations and like kind of understanding of the way life works, like despite all this education, still so simple and just like action reaction. Despite all this education and training after 15 years, he can't see the bigger picture. He's like, no, it has to be that she just didn't love me because everything that they said about me was true. I was uneducated. I was very lucky to have her, but as soon as I had the picture, like she found something better and deservedly so. Like he can't reconcile that. Like, no, she always loved me, but she needed to protect herself. And then we find out, of course, why she married Edmond, not Edmond, Fernand so quickly because of Albert and stuff like that. I do
Mhm.
like. I like that he's stubborn, and I like that he doesn't have he's so close to it. He doesn't have the vision to be like, well, maybe there's more going on here. He's so caught up in his plan. He can't see that, no, our love was real and we should be able to pick things up. Like Jacobo was right. I have everything I need, but first, revenge.
Well, I think what you're looking for is how black and white he sees everything.
Yes.
Oh, she wasn't with me. She didn't wait for me, so she's obviously against me. And I don't
Yeah.
want anything to do with her. I think we've all been guilty of that from time to time. Oh, you weren't 100% on
100%.
my side, so
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with you.
If you're
Like,
not
you
with me,
obviously.
you're against me. It's like, well,
Yeah.
not necessarily, but yeah. Yeah. You like what took me 3 minutes to explain, you said in 2 words, or 3 words, black and white. Yeah.
And
This
you
is
got to
why
think.
you're publishing books and I'm not.
Well, you got to think too how walled off this guy probably is.
Mm,
He had his first mate because he got promoted to ship captain. His first mate sold him out. His best friend sold him out. The guy who was supposed to be the hand of justice, Villefort, sold him out.
mm.
So why
Yeah,
is
the
he
paranoia
going?
is real. Like he's
Yes.
yeah,
So why is he going to let this girl from 15 years
yeah,
ago in close? Who knows what she's going to do if she finds out he's actually Edmund or what he's up to? She's probably going to sell me out too. So this guy's
yeah.
probably massively walled off.
And she never visited him, and he doesn't understand why. Like, but she just never knew where he was. Like that's
Well, they thought he was dead.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, like well, because at first they're like they're like what does Villefort say is like you're better off at just assuming that just consider him dead or something like that. She's like,
Yes.
and then like news gets back that he is dead, but of course, as we know, he's not. Yeah, that scene's really good as well. Another great example
Mm.
of dialogue just triumphing action, even though rightfully it probably shouldn't. Like it's so well written.
Yeah, and I think that's what really made this movie was you could easily have Edmund, you could turn it into an action movie and have Edmund get out of the prison and sword fight all three of them or gundle all three of them, but the interplay with the different characters, because keep in mind these people were close to this guy 15 years ago, that
Mm.
he does have connections with them. These aren't just faceless assassins he's taken down or whatever. He wants to make sure that they get their just due, and that combined with the dialogue is what sets us apart from your standard, oh, you wronged me, well, now I'm going to kill you.
Mm. I was trying to
And
figure out because the film is so good. I'm like, have they even bothered to remake it? Like,
they
they don't.
did.
They did. There's two versions from last year. There was a TV series
Oh,
and
there's
a
two.
movie. Yeah, there was a looks like a French movie and a UK miniseries production.
Okay, I knew there was a movie from last year.
Yeah, they literally did it twice last year. That's insane. They're like, it's been 22 years. We need to put out. We need to double our output. The movie's 3 hours long. Wow.
See, I had read there's been about 10 movie adaptations and two miniseries. So I mean, it's a timeless story, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering like the one that we watched, the one we've talked about, feels like the
Mhm.
most definitive version. Like I don't need like I'll watch it if I come across another version. I'll definitely watch it, but I don't think it gets much
Yeah,
better. Like this was like again, having not read the book, and I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff they had to excise to get the running time appropriate, but it felt pretty perfect to me. Don't really have any critiques of it except for that hot air balloon thing. Um,
and hey,
I'll
if that's the only critique, that's pretty good.
I'll die on that hill. I'll be like, no, it
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
make
so
sense.
the outcomes. What I was
Mm,
getting at when I was brought up the ship owner, he has a son in the
yes.
book. Villefort has a daughter in the book. it's like a Romeo and Juliet story.
Mhm.
Villafort's high society, ship owners low society. They don't want them to be a thing.
Yeah.
So Monte Cristo introduces Villafort's daughter to this poison. Well, her wanting to be with this guy and her family not wanting her to be with this guy, she poisons her entire family. And
That's cool.
what it what it does is it kills Villafort's youngest son
Oh,
from the
okay,
poison.
that's not so cool. Okay, I take it back.
And when Villafort's wife sees that her son has died, she kills herself.
Mm.
And then this drives Villafort insane. And instead of taking him to prison, they take him to, which would probably be even worse, an 1800s mental
Like
institution.
Bedlam or something, or like
Yes.
what was that
So,
place in Quills where the Marquis de Sade was instituted? Like, I don't know if did you ever watch Quills with Jeffrey Rush?
no.
Oh my god. Okay. Like another tangent. We'll just do very quickly. It's from the same again, it's the same era. So Jeffrey Rush
Mm.
plays the Marquis de Sade, who of course wrote all sorts of like horribly erotic stories and stuff like that. And was in
Oh, Marquis de Sade.
yeah, yeah.
120 Days of Sodom,
Yeah, yeah,
Justine.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
dude.
it's
I
the
have
movie
both
about
those.
him. It's his time it's about his
Oh,
time in the
God.
insane
In
asylum.
the Bastille,
Yes.
the giant French prison. Yeah.
And Kate Winslet plays like a handmaiden or something.
No
And
shit.
oh, it's so good.
I had
Like
no idea they made something about him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's called Quills. Um,
Have you read any of his work?
no, but I've seen
Holy
I've
shit.
seen the 120 Days of Sodom, um,
Oh,
the movie
Sallow?
Sally, yeah, which
Yeah.
has come up on this podcast way more than I ever expected it. I was
It came
like,
up my first time.
I was like, it's never going to get mentioned. You and I have talked about it twice now. I talked about it with Andrew from the Revision Almanac. It keeps coming back. A film I cannot recommend to anyone. But so I've seen that, and if it draws inspiration from his work. Although, like
Mhm.
the movie, I was shocked how raunchy, well, not raunchy, I suppose raunchy feels too fun. Like raunchy was like,
Mhm.
oh, bawdy. Like how
Yeah.
explicit like they lent into it for a Hollywood film with Jeffrey Rush, who had exploded on the scene. This point, like he'd just won the Academy Award for Shine. Like he was about to become, the captain in Pirates of the Caribbean. Like he was big, and they had him playing the Marquis de Sade, and they did not shy away from like the eroticism of the writing and stuff. It's pretty like full on.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
And it's
it's a
called Quills.
Quills. Yeah.
Wow, I gotta see this.
Okay, so in the book, he goes to an insane asylum, kind of like that, I guess. That's
Yes, and this is the point that the Count of Monte Cristo begins questioning whether or not this revenge is all worth it, and he starts to have a change of heart when he sees that Villafort's youngest son is now a casualty of his
yeah,
grand plan. Whereas in the movie, it happens when Mercedes gets shot. That's where he starts to think, "Is this all really worth it?"
yeah. Which I will say, like in the movie, I didn't kind of feel like I feel like that's maybe is probably a I don't want to say lazy, but like definitely like an easier plot device. Like I didn't buy that he truly had a change of heart. I think it's more like, ah, crap, my girl. I've got to protect her. I'll kill him later. I didn't actually buy that he was having a change of heart. Felt like more he was like, oh, I've got to look after her. I'll settle the score with him later, but I've got to look after her now. I didn't really feel like that. Whereas it sounds like in the book that point is illustrated a lot more clearly,
Yes.
which I do think maybe is a shortcoming of the film. I feel like they could have pushed that narrative harder, perhaps. Not that
I see.
doesn't hurt the film, like it doesn't hurt it at all. Like,
Right.
I still really enjoy it, but now you telling me that context, I could see him kind of finding his humanity a bit more through those events, as opposed to
Hmm.
it just felt like in the film it very much felt like a reaction, just like oh like damn it, like go stop this revenge thing for at least 5 minutes. Like it doesn't feel like he was having any regret, perhaps.
I feel like in the movie it was fairly earned
Okay.
because it's almost like the culmination of everything that's been building.
Mm,
Mercedes was trying to reconnect with him. Then they do reconnect. Then he
mm.
finds out Albert is his own child. So
That's
it's
fair.
almost,
Yeah,
it to
that's
me,
fair.
it was almost like when he sees Mercedes get shot, it's sparking that same feeling he had when he got framed and thrown in jail. Oh no, I'm going to
Mm,
lose everything again. My uh, whatever she is to him at that point.
yeah.
My ex fiance has
Yeah,
just
no,
been shot.
that's definitely fair. I think I maybe it was just me as the viewer didn't like. I don't know that not that I don't think it felt earned, but I don't know if I felt that I believed him more than anything else. Like I didn't know whether like that would. I didn't know if I felt it was true regret or more just kind of like, whoa, let's just take a step back and assess what's happening now. Like more kind of like
The shit just got real.
let's pause time. Let's just that's more what it felt to me. Not that it didn't feel earned. I think your explanation I think is very fair. Like I didn't feel I don't think it was unearned. I phrased it incorrectly. I just felt like maybe I didn't buy that like he would have actually stopped. I kind of felt like maybe he would have
Mm,
kept going once he knew Mercedes was safe. That's
I
all.
feel you.
Yeah,
Because he
that's
was so
more.
hell bent on revenge for
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
He never
absolutely.
forgot.
I don't know whether I don't know how it would have felt if they did put in the subplot of the son and the daughter of Villafort. I do feel like I don't like again. I don't think it affects the overall quality of the film. I really I'm very happy with what I watched yesterday. I was like, man, this rocks.
Mm,
But would I have gotten more of an and even more of an emotional connection if they had have added that? Maybe. I don't think it
mhm.
impacts the overall film in a negative way though.
I
Um,
don't. In fact, I like that they kept out a lot of the subplots and more
yeah.
minor characters, and they kept it to really like 4 or 5 people. It made it feel much more personal that way
Yes. Yeah, for
because
sure.
you had time with each of these characters.
Definitely.
So then the last one is Danglars. And in the film, Monte Cristo sets him up for stealing his gold and putting it on his ship. So
Really
he
enjoyed this as well. Like
very satisfying, right?
really, and especially like him like kind of saying like, yes, I'm the Count of Monte Cristo, but my friends call me Edmond. I'm like, yes,
Oh, great line.
like
Then kicks
literally,
him off.
yeah. And I'm like, the last thing you know before you die is that you were wrong. I'm like, yeah, that's like the sweetest revenge.
Oh yeah.
Um, every revenge scene in this movie is earned and satisfying. Like, there's not a
Yeah.
single one where I'd be like, like I wish you had done it differently there. Like, I didn't have the Jason Isaacs Patriot moment at all in this film. Like, every
Mhm.
revenge was different enough that it felt unique, but like there was no like um lack of quality. I'm like every single one like delivers that that thirst for vengeance in this moment. Because I said the steam room was my favorite, but I do like the Danglars one. Sorry, you were going to tell me. You were going to tell me what happened in the book. Sorry.
Oh yes. So you won't like what happened to Danglars in the book because he is the last one that Monte Cristo goes after.
Mhm.
And like I said, seeing the boy die of the poison indirectly because of Monte Cristo or directly, depending on how you look at it, that this is when he starts to have the change of heart. So he does the same thing. In the book, Danglars becomes a banker. He buys Danglars' bank, or he sets him up to fail.
Mm.
Basically, Danglars loses all of his wealth, which is what is important to him. And he somehow ends up with a little bit of money, and he's traveling to flee France because he's a wanted man.
Mm.
Well, Monte Cristo sets it up so his bandit friends, like we saw in the movie, kidnap Danglars, and basically what happens is after some back and forth, Monte Cristo lets him go with a little bit of money because he's like, I already ruined this guy financially. That's what was important to him. I already saw this kid die. I got what I
Mm.
need. I'm good. So
Mm.
Danglars gets off probably the easiest in the book out of all of them.
It's interesting because I'm in two minds. I see why you said I won't like it because the problem with revenge films or revenge stories is very rarely does. Here's the thing: your protagonist gets taken advantage of, gets abducted, gets killed, gets whatever the case may be. In this case, gets framed for murder. In the quest to get their revenge, they almost always lose their humanity. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of it, like
Yeah,
it's not a happy ending. It's like they get revenge, but they don't like. There's no way to kind of become that whole person again. So I feel like in
sure.
the novel, it sounds like kind of Edmond leaves with some semblance of his humanity. Like it's not perfect, but like he's gone to the edge and he's managed to bring himself away from it. And maybe he's not a whole person, but he hasn't gone too far. He hasn't become a monster. Um, he maybe has monstrous elements, but he hasn't gone too far. He's managed to kind of rein it back in. However, as a fan of story and film, I don't like a loose end being out there because now the
Mhm.
Danglars could do the exact same thing to him. Like, it'd be a weird twist, but do you know what I mean? Like, as a fan of
Right.
these movies, no loose ends. You need to eliminate him. So
You would make a great mafioso. Hey,
I
we can't
literally
let
just
this guy get
I
out of here.
literally just rewatched like the two Punisher movies from the 2000s, and I'm like, yes, kill them all.
Dude, those movies were crazy.
Yes, crazy, yeah, really good
So
stuff.
I'll tell you how the book ends completely after he lets Danglars go.
Yeah, go for it.
So we end similar to this. This movie ends where they're at did how do you say it? The fief, the prison, the fief.
Yeah, it was called like yeah, it was I don't know.
Yes, but they're at the
I
prison
was like,
arc
I'm
in
gonna
the
struggle
movie.
to pronounce this when we get to the podcast. That's what I felt yesterday, and we were right. I
Yes,
kept thinking of Lashif
the chief.
from Casino Royale, the villain in Casino Royale, Lashif. I was like, it was like Castle Deef or something like that.
Castle Deef, that's what it was.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Oh, excellent. I'll take that. It
Yes.
turns out
So
I'm
it
wrong. Like, this is like it wasn't that.
right.
Like, yeah.
So in the movie, he's there with Mercedes. Or why do I keep saying Mercedes? Mercedes and his son.
You know why?
And
Because there's because I was talking about the Marquis de Sade, so you're like sticking them
that's what
together.
did me in.
Yeah.
So he's there with his family and Jacobo, and happy ending for the most
Yeah.
part. And the book is similar. However, in the book, Albert isn't Monte Cristo's son. Mercedes, after she leaves with Albert, they're both gone.
Mm.
How the book ends is Monte Cristo is on Monte Cristo, and he has the ship owner's son and Villafort's daughter. He gives them half of his wealth, and then he sails off. Do you remember when I was talking about that subplot where Fernand sold out that Turkish prince or whatever?
Yeah.
So Monte Cristo ends up with that daughter. He buys her out of slavery.
Okay.
So he ends up on a ship with her. He gives the two young lovers half of his fortune, and he and this girl sail off on a ship headed to the east to start a new life. And the last line of the book is wait and hope.
Nice.
So pretty
I
happy ending.
Yeah, I do like that. I obviously, the Hollywood version, he has to get back with his love, like you have to do that.
Yes.
But I don't mind the idea of like, and there were more adventures to come. Like,
Mhm.
because I assume that, like, even though the book ends, like, Christo's not done. Like, there's more going on. Like, he's going to go off, and if he's heading to the east with like a young bride, so like, there's more. But I don't know. Like, you keep saying this Turkish guy's daughter, and like, for some reason I'm like, oh, please don't be a child bride. Please don't be a child bride. Like,
No.
no, Monte Cristo is a pretty uh, like an honorable man and stuff like that. So I don't think so.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like that as well, and I like the message of wait and hope. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
I will say I did. If I, gun to my head, we've been talking about that a lot. I did like the way the movie ended. I don't know if either one I would say is better. I like both endings. There is something about seeing Edmund get back with Mercedes, and now
mm,
he has a son. It's almost like he was able to reclaim everything he lost those
yeah.
last 15 years. Whereas in the book, he basically just starts an entire new life. But there is something satisfying about seeing him reunited with everyone he cared about.
Yeah, absolutely. I had no critiques of it. It's like, yeah, like obviously that is the Hollywood ending. Like everything worked out. Do you know what I mean? Like, and no children died. Like, so that worked out. That worked out quite well. Um, but no, I think like for the type of film is the type of story they're telling. Like, it is in many ways a fairy tale. It's like it's Princess
Mm,
Bride. It's like it's all those things. It's like
sure.
everything worked out. It's like evil was vanquished, justice was served because but even though it was vengeance, and it all kind of worked out. I think you can justify the vengeance of it all, and it almost does feel like justice because wrongs were righted and everything kind of, and
Mm,
no innocence was hurt in that pursuit. So you can almost be like, well, as even though we are against vengeance and vigilantism, like it's the closest you get to be like, you know what, this version kind of worked out all right. I think so. Um, Yeah, I'm so glad you suggested it, man. Like, even though I was like, oh, this could be medicine, it was so much fun revisiting that film. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, why are we not talking about this film more? Like, because I loved it the
Mhm.
first time I saw it, but like, I didn't hear anyone talk about it.
Yeah, the only reason I knew about this one, and this is gonna be weird, but well, I guess not. There are a lot of religious themes throughout this movie, but in my Sunday school class, I guess it would
Mm,
have been youth group at this point. We were watching clips of this, and we saw the scenes in the prison, and we saw the ending sword fight, and it always stuck with me for
mm.
some reason. Not because of all the religious stuff. I was just like, damn, that looks like a badass movie. Like,
Yeah,
so I think I
yeah,
took the wrong message away from Sunday school,
yeah.
but it
Like,
always
no,
stuck
it's
with.
not a badass movie. It's religious.
Right. So that always stuck with me, and I've always wanted to watch this, and
Mm,
it's one of those things where it would always slip my mind, and
mm,
at the most inconvenient times, like I'm halfway through work and I'm like, oh, Monte Cristo, I need to
mm.
watch that, and then just never did. So whenever you brought up books that were turned into movies, I was like, oh, I always wanted to see 2002's Monte Cristo, so I'm glad you suggested that.
Oh, it worked out well. I'm glad that you got
Yeah.
to finally watch it. I'm glad it wasn't a disappointment for you, because
No, not at all.
that's the
I was
thing
worried.
is,
I will say I was worried. I'm like, this is a very long book. There's a lot of complexities to it, a lot of different interpersonal relationships. So I'm like, how are they going to make this a breezy 2 hour movie? But it was good. It was more than good. I love this one.
yeah, because that's the thing. That's gonna be the last thing we'll talk about before we get out of here. Is we're gonna talk about some
Oh,
adaptations. Oh, go on.
well, can I mention something else too?
Yeah, yeah,
Wasn't a fan of his goatee look, but the look he had in the very last scene at the ruins without the goatee, badass. He looked
yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah.
awesome.
Very cool. I feel like the goatee is only in existence so that it hides his identity. They're like
Yes,
just
for
cover him in
sure.
facial hair. Yeah. Um, Yeah, it actually reminded me of Christopher Guest in The Princess Bride, who plays the
Mm,
six-fingered man, and his look is very similar,
okay.
actually. So if you ever, I don't know if you've ever seen Princess Bride, which by the way is pretty badass as well. It's a great flick.
I
Uh,
have seen it. It was probably about 25 years ago though, so I just remember Andre the Giant.
it is shocking now that I think about it. They totally ripped off Count of Monte Cristo. I guarantee if you go back and
Really?
watch it, lots of similar earmarks and stuff. Like
Okay.
a guy is like um I can't remember if he's in prison or killed. I can't remember what it is, but like the love interest is like taken away, and then he reappears as a reform man. Now he's a pirate and stuff like that, and he
Oh,
goes to
cool.
like rescue his love, like his love from a man who kind of stole her from him and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very similar now that I think about it. But yeah, you've got Andre the Giant as like just this as a giant basically. Um,
Imagine that.
yeah, oh, it's a great flick. I love Princess Bride. Um, yeah, so we're going to talk about a couple of adaptations and we'll get out of here. But I think that the toughest thing when you are adapting a book is you're never going to be 100% faithful. So it's always like how how do you do it in a way that kind of honors what came beforehand and satisfies the audience? And there's some really good adaptations out there and there's some not so good adaptations. So I brought a list of movies that I thought, and I won't talk about them for too long, that I thought were quite faithful adaptations. But did you have a couple as
Okay.
well that you were gonna bring also? Is that what you did some books that are like Monte Cristo? What was your list again? I can't remember.
So I know that you were bringing adaptations of it. What I did was I thought of and did research on movies inspired by this story, not necessarily adaptations of it.
Oh, awesome, cool. Well, do you want to go first with your list? Do you want to go one at a time? What do you want to do there? Like,
I can just knock out my list real
yeah,
quick.
knock out your list and tell me some stuff that was inspired by Count of Monte Cristo.
Sure. So this is a movie we both share a love for, and that is Kill Bill. Very
Yeah.
much a revenge tale. The bride in the beginning of the first Kill Bill movie, she's going to get married. She's
Mm,
starting a new life as not being an assassin, and then that all just goes to hell
mm,
whenever Bill ambushes the wedding. And then the rest of the movie is her taking revenge on her former friends, the assassins. So
mm.
very much almost a retelling in a
Yeah,
crazy
it
sort
is
of way.
crazy how accurate it is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would say this though, like as much as I love Quentin Tarantino, his revenge a lot less creative.
A lot more sword and gunplay.
Yeah, I like all that, but like there's less. there's there's the sophistication isn't there that the Count has, where he's
Right.
like, I'm gonna dismantle everything of your personality and everything you are, bit by bit. But
She
yeah,
just scalps Lucy Liu.
yeah, that's it. That's it. I mean, that is maybe my favorite scene in any film ever. That whole
Oh,
sequence
so good.
in the
The
snow,
Crixie
like,
88s into the snow. Yeah.
yeah, that snow sequence, like that moment. I've talked about this so much. It's so pretentious, but like, there's a shot in Kill Bill where like the bride and Oren Ishii are in the background, and they're both slightly injured. They're bleeding on the snow, and we just see like the water fountain tipping, like back
Yeah.
and forth, and it's only for like 3 seconds. That I think is my favorite shot in cinema. I love it so much. Like it's
Oh.
so cool. It's like these two like old foes. They've been hacking each other to bits, and they're taking a moment of respite. And in this bloody carnage, just I'm like so cool. Like yeah,
Very Kurosawa inspired.
yeah. Which I've only just seen Seven Samurai for the first time last year, and that's the only of his
Mm.
films I'm trying to get access to more so I can watch more of his stuff. But yeah, very very cool.
Yes, I need to see more of his. I love samurai flicks. I love what I've seen by him. So
Mm.
another one, which I'll give you a spiel on this one, but it won't be a long one. Another one that popped up was John Wick, very much a revenge story.
Yes. Yeah.
I liken that, which is also a revenge story. I liken that to a movie version of Max Payne, if you've played those
Mm-hmm.
games.
Mm-hmm.
Which
It's a
I
better
mean,
Max Payne movie than the Max Payne movie we got. Although
oh, I mean,
I do think that movie is like no one ever says anything good about it, but I think there are good moments to that film. It's just you had everything you needed in the video game. You should have just
yeah.
done that basically. Yeah.
The film, I like certain things it did. By no means do I think it's a good film. Again, just my opinion.
I haven't watched it
There,
in probably 20 years. I've got the DVD somewhere. I should dig it out and I should revisit it.
I
I'll let
just
you know.
remember, I just remember being really let down by it. But I did like the whole psychological element of the
Mm.
Valkyries being these monsters. That was cool to me. But anyway, John Wick, they
Yeah.
said was one inspired by Monte Cristo, which maybe. I mean, that struck me more as just a more like a typical action revenge story, but there's elements there I can see.
Yeah, it is like the cat. Like I guess, like I can see what they mean because he has to go from being like just this husband to like a killing machine. But he
Hmm.
was a killing machine before, so it wasn't
Right.
like he had to recreate himself. I don't think he had to undo the changes to go back to his
Mhm.
like most primal versions. I can see what they mean, but I feel like it's maybe a loose adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you two more. One I'm familiar with, one I want to ask if you're familiar with because
Okay.
I've heard a
Sure.
lot about it. So the third one, and you and I both like this, we discussed it earlier, Shawshank Redemption. Very much
Yes.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's basically the prison sequence, but it played out in its own feature-length film or book.
And it seems like, and also like in that film, multiple characters of the Count of Monte Cristo, because a lot of
Mm,
them were wrongfully imprisoned and stuff like that. Okay,
yes.
I guess that is true to the Count because they say this is not where we send people who are guilty; it's where we send people we're
Yeah.
ashamed of. So that's a
Yeah.
badass line. That guy who plays the head of the prison as well is really good.
Did you think he was gonna be like a decent person? Because he had tricked me. I was like, oh man, this guy's like
I
feels for these prisoners.
I because remembered barely anything of the film.
Mhm.
I did. There was yeah like a friendliness to him. I'm like, oh, I forgot like that there was a nice character in the prison. I'm so glad like that. And then I was like, oh no, like I didn't forget. They
I'm
just
gonna
tricked me.
whip the
So,
shit out of you.
yeah, yeah.
How satisfying was it when he got drowned?
Yes, 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 yes. That whole breakout, because I'd forgotten how he got out of the prison. I actually thought he
Mhm.
did dig out. And then when like you see the bag, I'm like, oh, that's right. He's gonna swap the bodies. Oh my god! Like I thought about this, and I got really excited.
Genius.
Yeah, because
So in the
they'd
book,
already put him away, so they didn't have to check him again. So I was like, good, good, good.
right?
Yeah.
In the book, it's actually a little more action packed at that part. Whenever he falls off the cliff, the guards notice and they
Mm.
start shooting cannons at him. So he's trying to outswim cannon fires. They're a little more tense. But I did love the payoff to that evil prison guard getting dunked.
Yeah, I liked all the tension as well. Like as they're like, wait, to stop, and like they're trying to get there in time to stop. I'm like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
get in the water, get in the water, get in the water, like,
Hurry
and
up,
then
throw him in.
and then of course followed up by like that celebratory dance on the beach, and all the pirates just see
Oh
him
yes.
dancing. That dude
That
as well,
was great.
the long-haired guy, the leader of the smugglers, he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah. I
I'd
would have
forgotten
liked to have
that
seen
part.
more with him.
Yeah, like he shows up later.
He
Um,
does.
obviously, like in the kind of like the the attack on Albert and stuff like this. He does show up again, but yeah, I could have. That's where like if they had have done this long form, I would have happily watched like an episode. Like if they did it episodic, which I guess they did.
Yeah.
I could have watched a whole episode of him just smuggling and stuff like that. Like that kind of would have been cool
That would
to
be
see more
fun.
of that. Yeah.
Well, it's
Um,
like you were talking about in our messages. This movie has a little bit of everything. It has
yeah.
romance, it has betrayal, it has action, sword fighting, adventure, swashbuckling. Like there's
Yeah.
so much to this, and yeah, I think a mini series would probably be the best way for this.
And it never feels like it's too much of one thing or not enough of another thing. I feel like it's really well balanced. I'm never like, yeah, I need.
And I would
Oh
say
yeah,
the stuff that doesn't feel like there's enough of, like the pirate guy. I think that's the best thing when you want more.
yeah,
Like I would much rather be like, man, I would have liked to have seen more than that guy than like, ugh, all right,
yeah.
enough of
Enough
that
with the pirates already.
guy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'll give you one more that
Yes.
was allegedly inspired. So this is a movie I've heard a lot about. I believe it's South Korean. Old Boy.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. I can see that for sure. Um, yes. So Old Boy, um, is about so this man Daesu, um, is drunk on a train, and on his way home to like go drop a present off for his daughter's birthday, he blacks out and he wakes up in a hotel room that he can never leave, and he's locked up for
Oh,
like 10, 15 years. And then
what?
yeah, like he's just locked in there, just like eating like, and then like just eating like rice and stuff, and then is just systematically released one day. Like, all right, you're done. Like he doesn't have to escape; they just let him out, and then he's trying to
Okay.
track down and figure out who it was that took him away and stole the 15 years of his life. And I won't. That's all I'll say because like
Okay.
the best, most messed up parts of that movie, because it gets messed up,
Hmm.
is like it would be huge spoilers. But they did an American remake as well with Josh Brolin. So Josh Brolin and
Oh,
Elizabeth
really?
Olsen were in it. So Spike Lee actually directed the remake,
Oh,
which
cool.
people hated. I don't understand the hate. I actually saw the remake first. That was my gateway into Old Boy, and then I went and saw the original. The original, of course, is better because it just goes
Hmm.
further. It pushes the envelope and does more stuff. But it kind of in the way that the Count of Monte Cristo, the movie versus the book, like some of the changes they made to make it more of a Hollywood ending. That's what they did
Mm.
with the American remake as well. But I think it's a good entry point into the franchise. Like if you all look into the story, if you want
Okay.
to see it. But the Korean version is incredible. I probably watch Old Boy once a year. Like it's really,
What? I
yeah,
know what I'm doing tonight.
yeah, that's really good. It's a really good revenge story. And now that you point out those kind of like elements, I'm like, oh, it is kind of the Count of Monte Cristo. There's not so
Yeah.
much of a reinvention. Like he doesn't really
Mhm.
go through that kind of transformation to like kind of trick people. There's less kind of like kind of psychological kind of trickery and stuff like that. It's just more like he picks up a hammer and starts taking names. Um, but it is, in fact, I will say this is a very mild spoiler, but it's not going to really impact your enjoyment of it. Is if anything, the villain did a transformation.
Hmm.
So who we find out like was responsible for the abduction stuff, that character went through a transformation to kind of be able to execute his plan because it's almost like a one revenge for another revenge type film.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's really good. I would also recommend if you end up digging that, it's not like Count of Monte Cristo at all, but another great Korean revenge film is I Saw the Devil. If you haven't seen that,
I've
uh,
heard of that one too.
it's really good. And the guy who plays the hero in Old Boy plays the villain in that. Like, so it's really
Oh,
interesting
nice.
watching those, like that kind of change. Oh man, look, there's so many great Korean like revenge films out there.
I know, dude. Korea has been. Have you seen Train to Busan?
Yes, it's what
Oh
like
my god.
it's
That
it's incredible. Like that's one I don't watch as often as Old Boy, but I probably watch it once every couple of years.
was
Um,
so good.
one of the best zombie films I've ever seen. But also one of the best like non-English language films. Like I have this real. I love international cinema. We are talking about it before. I love seeing like just like perspective. Like show me your take on what is scary and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one thing I do struggle with when it comes to international films is there is a slight disconnect because there's a language barrier. Because I'm reading, it can be hard to connect emotionally at a certain level. Like it's 'cause I'm trying to keep up with the dialogue as I'm reading it. Train to
Right.
Busan destroyed me, like made me cry like ugly
Oh,
tears. Like that ending is so like
ah,
heartbreaking. And in a
every
horror
death is just a gut punch.
and in a horror film, like it's so
Yeah.
rare for a horror movie to be able to like its prime directive is to scare you. Like that's the emotion it's going for. So if it takes anything else, like that's a bonus. But to make me
Mm,
cry,
yeah.
like wow, like a horror film made me cry, and it wasn't even in my language, so I really had to work for it. I love Train to Busan. They made a couple other movies in the franchise. Those are they're fine.
Okay.
There's an animated prequel called Soul Station. It's basically the night before, like how the events kind of
Oh.
came to be, um, and other
What
parts of
a
this.
what an eerie scene when they're driving to the train and they just see that building on fire with the stuff coming
Yeah.
with like the ashes falling. Like,
Yes.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna
It's
end well. I
yeah.
don't know what that is, but it doesn't look good.
Did you guys do Train to Busan for Midnight Terrors?
Oh man. I know we've discussed it. I don't know if
I
we've
feel like
I
I've
know
seen.
I
I feel like
haven't.
I saw its name come up. You guys must have. If you
It may have
haven't,
been before I got on
if you
because
haven't, then time to
we
do it.
haven't
Yeah.
done an episode. Yes, we need to. Phenomenal movie.
Nice one. Yeah. The Old Boy. That's what we're talking about. Old Boy. Yeah, Old Boy. I would say
Yeah.
definitely has a lot of similarities to Count of Monte Cristo for sure. Yeah, you'll
Nice.
dig it. You'll dig it. It's weird. Like it
I
goes into
like weird.
it goes into really weird places. Like yeah,
Okay.
nice one. That's a good list. I've seen all of those. I think Old Boy, John Wick, all
Kill
the others,
Bill,
Kill Bill.
Shawshank.
Yeah, I've seen them all. Great list. And I
Okay,
would
then I
say
need
yeah,
to see Old Boy and get on
yeah.
your page.
Um, I'll go through a couple of quickly. So I just went for more, yeah, so like faithful adaptations and where I think the
Mhm.
movie is as good, if not better than the book. That's what I kind of went
Okay,
for.
cool.
And for that, I made sure there were only movies that I've also read the book for. So there's stuff like Gone Girl, Fight Club, which are
Oh,
incredible
nice.
movies. I
Yes.
haven't read the book, so I was like, I can't use
Oh.
those. Um,
Ah.
so in number fifth place, I went with The Great Gatsby. And I'm talking about the 70s film. So there's a 1970s
Oh.
film starring Robert Redford as Gatsby, uh,
What?
and Mia Farrow as, oh my God, what's her name? Have I forgotten her name? It's my favorite book. I should know this. But his love interest. Um,
Yes.
and Nick Carraway is played by the dude from Law and Order, like Sam Waterhouse or whatever his name is.
Um,
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. Like it really like they captured the I didn't love the DiCaprio one. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but it felt very much like they took all the sensationalism of the story and left the content behind. They're like, let's make it visually glitzy, but it's like, no, like let's put it in 3D and Jay-Z's doing the music. I was like, cool, but what about like the heart of the story? Like I feel like they kind of missed that a little bit.
man, I feel like you just nailed it. Like there was always something about that movie. I'm like, I want to like this. There are
Yeah.
parts that are amazing, but there was always something about it that didn't fully connect with me. And I'm like you. I absolutely love the book. I think it's a
Mm.
great story. But that DiCaprio movie, I'm like, why don't I like this? And I think you definitely hit it when you said it. It's missing its heart.
Yeah, and look, I haven't watched it since it came out. I saw it twice in cinemas because I got a free ticket.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'll go back again. Maybe I'll like it more the
Yeah,
second
nice.
time. So I haven't seen it in a while. So it does deserve a revisit. But I think I described it to my wife. I was like, it kind of feels like Gatsby for Dummies. It's like
Yeah.
let's cut out all of the important stuff. Let's like any subtext. Let's just make it text. Like let's not make the audience work too hard.
Yeah.
So I've got to go back and check it out again. So, but it was fine. But the '70s one with Robert Redford is fantastic. Uh,
I'll definitely put that on the list too.
yeah, so
That
I
mood
really
board.
like that one. Next, I went with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I like the
Mm.
movie better than the book. I think the book is I think I read the book when I was 32 2 or something. If I had have read it when I was 18, I would have been like, "Oh my god, this is everything I want." But as a guy with a mortgage and a child, I was like, "All right, calm down, Hunter. Like, just relax a little bit." But, like, he was so angry, like, and I get it because he wasn't a hippie. Like, that was the time of the hippies, and he was like, "I'm gonna eat your lungs" and stuff like that. He was so aggressive. But the movie, I think, is really like it was a Terry Gilliam who directed, I want to say. Like the visual style of it is so cool. Like I think they take the best bits of the book, but like in a way that's palatable for anyone, as opposed to like just angry people. Uh,
Gotcha.
so I like that. I don't know if
Now,
you, go on, yeah.
I haven't seen the movie or read the book, but is this the one where the guy's like an alcoholic who's basically dying of alcoholism, so he gets a prostitute in a hotel in Vegas and just drinks himself to death?
No, that's Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh,
That's Nick Cage. No, Fear and Loathing is Johnny Depp, and
okay.
he's playing Hunter S. Thompson. Like he's literally playing him, and like he's going to go like right about the Dust Bowl. There's like a huge race like in Vegas, and so he's gone. He's
Okay.
being paid but to go and report on it. But before he gets there, he rents a Cadillac and buys like a ton of drugs, and basically is lucid the entire time. Like he's on acid, and like all the people in the bar turn into crocodiles, and the floor is turning into lava and stuff. And he's just basically like a trip for like 90 minutes. Um,
Wow. I've heard
so
Hunter S. Thomas was a pretty wild dude.
yeah, and he has what's the drug he has?
LSD.
Ether. He's big on ether. He's like huffing ether the whole time. Yeah, the book is insane. Like it feels like yeah, like it's the kind of thing that like teenage boys probably should read to like just like vent all their aggression because it's so angry. But the
Gotcha.
movie, I think that like kind of works a little bit better and makes it more entertaining. Like I haven't read the book in a while, but I remember coming out of it, I was like, "Geez, this guy is so edgy." Like I was like, "Take a breath, man. Life isn't that bad." Although I don't know, I wasn't Hunter. Like Hunter S. Thompson is the guy who shot himself in the head, not because he was suicidal, because the world had nothing left to offer him. It's like, I think today's the day. It's time for me to say goodbye, and just like shot himself. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, he was a interesting guy. Like the world, like he's the guy who coined the phrase "too weird to live, too rare to die." I'm like, that is Hunter S. Thompson. Like, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Like there was no one on this planet like him. Um, Next up, I'm diving into children's material because we obviously get a lot of children's books turned to movies. And my favorite book as a kid was and still is Matilda by Roald Dahl.
Oh
Um,
my god.
I think everything. I think I've read just about everything he wrote, and I think he's like, again, despite his personal issues, I think he's a master storyteller. Like I think like he pushed narrative into the weird. Like he was the introduction to
Mm.
like absurdism, I think, for a lot of children. But Matilda is basically Carrie. Like it's the same
Huh.
story. Like this young neglected child gets telekinetic powers, but instead of killing everyone at prom, she like throws out the main principle. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about the '90s movie, not the remake. Well, the remake is quite good as well. And the original, the '90s movie was directed by Danny DeVito, and he starred in it as well.
No
Um,
shit.
yeah, it's
Ha.
and his wife Rhea Perlman played his wife in the movie. Um,
And
yeah,
that's the one where she's like levitating at one point.
yeah. She's
I
got
do
like
remember,
psychic
man.
powers.
Talk
Um,
about a 20-year-old movie. I think that's probably been 30 years
yeah,
since I've seen Matilda.
that was like 96, 97, I want to say. So it's kind of,
I do
um,
remember it though. I do remember
yeah,
it.
I thought it's really a really honorable like remake. Like it obviously has to like kind of cut. They're like Harry Potter will not show up on my list. I love those
Mhm.
movies. I love those books, but those movies take huge liberties and cut out entire chunks of really important stuff. So, as far as adaptation goes, I think it's good we're getting a series. I think we can
Mm,
right some wrongs there. But Matilda,
okay.
I think, is pretty faithful. Um, my last two, I'm going to Lord of the Rings as my second place.
Oh yeah.
They're not really ranked. I think again the movies, especially extended cuts, are better than the books. I like that book a
Mm.
lot, but that book is homework. Like there is an entire chapter dedicated to describing a river. Like it's really like it's a good read, but I think I was talking about
Yeah.
your writing style before. Like if you have to work too hard, like you're gonna shut a lot of people out. Whereas those movies, like I know some people don't like them because of the walking and stuff like that.
Oh, jeez, it's an
There's a
adventure.
there's a great line in Clerks 2 where it's like those movies were so boring, even the trees walked, and I'm like, yeah, that's a great line. But I don't think they're boring. I think they're masterclasses. I think they are.
Oh,
I don't think look they. I think they're the gold standard for what fantasy is. I don't think you get
yeah.
better. Like I haven't watched the Amazon series. I tried an episode and just it was too polished. I didn't really. It wasn't really my jam. I didn't really like what they were doing with it. So I'll go back at some point. But I think those movies like practical effects and costumes and stunt work and like yes there's CGI but it's used the way CGI should be used, which is to enhance, not to replace. um you
I
know
feel like with those films, it's the opposite of what we said about Gatsby. Those movies really capture the heart of Lord of the
yes,
Rings. There's a lot. I
absolutely.
mean, Peter Jackson was a big fan of the books, and I love the books. I read them in a summer. I read them faster than any book I had up until that
Yeah,
point. I love the movies.
yeah,
If you were to set me down and be like, look, you can either have the books the rest of your life or the movies, I'd probably go to the movies. There's something to
yeah.
'em.
And I should say, like, I don't think the books aren't bad. Like, I loved reading those books, but also I had a year when I was 14 years old to read Lord of the Rings. If I want to consume Lord of the Rings, and I do on an annual basis,
True.
I just don't have the time and attention span for those books as
I
much
feel
as I
it.
would love to. So I think those movies are a perfect example of what an adaptation should be. And maybe that should have been my number one, because I think my number one, and this is very loosely ranked, I think is going to be divisive, but I chose three, and they're three Stephen King stories, and I think the movie
Oh,
is it was better than each of the books,
okay.
which isn't always the case. So I think a lot of the time the book is better than the movie for Stephen King.
The
I think.
Shining.
Well, I actually like The Shining better than the book. I like the movie better than the
I do
book.
too, yeah.
Yeah, like there are elements of the book that the movie misses. Like for example, when Jack Nicholson shows up, I was like, I wonder if he's going to be a good guy. Like in the book, it's a slow descent into madness. In the movie, he's getting a job interview. I'm like, oh, this guy's killing everyone. Like,
Jack Nicholson is Jack Nicholson.
yeah, there are things in that that obviously don't work, but I think that movie is really entertaining. I think it holds up.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to also throw in the 1978 Brian De Palma version of Carrie. I
okay.
think I enjoyed that better than the book. I remember I was so excited to read Carrie because it was his first book, and it took me
Hmm.
forever to get there. When I finally read it, I'm like, oh, yeah, like it's good. Look, it's good. Like it's Stephen King. It's a good book, but this is clearly his first book. Like you know how sometimes like a creator will come out and you're like, oh my god, if this is what they're starting with, what will happen next? And then like they had like the sophomore slump. Stephen
Yes.
King didn't have that. Like his first book is clearly his first book, and he's only gotten better over time. Like
Okay.
especially when he like was doing tons of coke and writing novels in a weekend. Like,
Dude, 80s Stephen King, there's
yeah,
something to it. And
that's
it's
the
all
best version.
cocaine.
But I think that movie with Sissy Spacek is fantastic, and John Travolta. Like John Travolta's in there killing
That's
pigs.
right. Travolta is in
Yeah.
there.
Um, and then I would also throw Misery. I think the book is great.
Oh,
I think the
dude, Kathy
movie.
Bates.
I love that movie. I would have thrown Stand By Me, and I think Stand By Me is the
Mm,
best Stephen King movie. But I haven't read the short story, so I didn't include it.
gotcha.
But that's my. So I squished eight into five there. I'm like three Stephen King. Um, yeah,
I
but
will
they're all
say too about the Lord of the Rings
mm,
trilogy, and it's probably the same for you, but they just came out in a very formative time in my life.
yes,
Like junior high,
absolutely.
high school, that's when we were finding out who we are, and to see movies, that follows Frodo and these other characters as
Mm,
they almost try to fit in where their world is and discover where their strengths are and what they're really made of. It was not only during that time, but it's also nostalgic for me because
mm.
all my friends were into them. So it's yeah. And I would go
I,
see those with my dad too. And I
yeah,
didn't do a lot with my dad, so
that
that
was a
was cool.
family event for us. Like every year. The first
Mhm.
one, it wasn't. The first one, my sister was too young because I would have been 2001 is when Fellowship comes out. I'm
Yep.
13 because it came out. It was always Christmas time. It came out, and so I'm 13. So that makes my brother 11, which makes my sister 8. So she was too young for Lord of the Rings, or at least according to my family. So I don't know what happened there, but my mum took us, and we didn't get out of the cinema until like 1 o'clock in the morning because it was like I
Oh
guess like a
man.
10 p.m. showing. Um, and it was back in the time when they did like cool like promotional merchandise at the cinema. So like
Yeah.
now it's just buckets and cups, which I'm cool with.
Mhm.
But like we had Lord of the Rings playing cards that came when you got like popcorn and stuff. I,
That's
w- I
awesome.
I hope we still have them somewhere. I wish we did. Um, but yeah, like that, and then it became a family event like every year because that was the first year my parents were divorced, so they weren't really doing anything. But my parents, for a divorced couple, spend a crazy amount of time together. Like
Huh.
we do a lot of like family gatherings, all five of us still, and so like we went and saw Two Towers together as a family, all five of us. My divorced
Mhm.
parents and their children, and then we went and saw Return of the King together, and yeah, it became like that. Once a year, you knew like, all right, the next step is coming, and that was I'm trying to think if I'd seen Back to the Future at this point, because Back to the Future 2, you get the cliffhanger. And I'm trying to think if I'd seen it at this point or where The Fellowship was the first time I'd seen a movie. And I'm like, wait, the story's not over? What do you mean? Because I didn't know it was a trilogy. Like my
Okay.
mum had just, because I heard the endings a little bit like she'd read the book, so she knew, but she didn't tell me they were part of a trilogy. So I didn't know they were making
Mm.
more. And when I got to the end of it, I'm like, but hang on, we haven't resolved anything. What are you talking about? Like the bad guy's still out there. What do you mean we can't see the ending? And she's like, yeah,
Boromir
yeah.
just got filled with 30 arrows.
I every it's so funny. Like every time I watch that film, I'm like, you know what, Boromir like earns his place. He's not a bad guy. And every time I watch it, I'm like, nope, he's a douche. Like he's totally
Oh,
a
really?
yeah. Like, every time I watch it, like a year will pass. I'm like, yeah, like we just gotta remember Boromir does earn his keep. Like he's a good dude. And every single time I'm like, no, he's a jerk. Like, oh man, like he's not good. Like the only redeeming feature of Boromir, and you don't see it in the theatrical cuts, is I think in the third film, I can't remember which one it is now. I just rewatched them. Faramir, like there's a flashback, and it's like at the Battle of Osgiliath or whatever, and Faramir and Boromir saved the city, and Denethor comes in, is like it was all Boromir, and Boromir's like no, 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 like Faramir like helped out, like he's the
Okay.
one, but it's only the extended cuts. If you don't see that, Boromir is just a douche the whole time.
This guy's a dick.
Yeah. What great casting as well to get David Wenham play Faramir, an Australian guy who looks just enough like Sean Bean that you could believe they were brothers. Like you look at them, you're like, they're not related, but gee, they look like they could be.
They
Um,
did look alike.
and then John Noble as Denethor as well looks quite. I mean,
Mm.
we've been going for 3 hours, by the way. We could definitely go another 3 hours just on Lord of the Rings.
Want to talk Lord of the Rings?
And like for those listening who are like, oh my god, like when will it end? We've been talking for 4 hours because we started for an hour beforehand. That's why I was like, I've got to get Roy back on, man. Like I know we can chat and have fun. There'll be no lulls. It'll just be like constant conversation.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
a bullshitter. It's what I do.
me too, man. Like that's why we're podcasters because we've
I
got
guess so.
because
Yeah.
we're like if we record it, someone will listen to us talk because the people in
Somebody's
this
got it.
space are not. So let's
No, nobody outside that door listens to anything I have to say.
I am so glad you prompted me to watch Count of Monte Cristo. What a great time I had yesterday. That
Oh
was so
yeah.
much fun. And I'm so glad you came back on the show, man. I was like, I don't have any like agenda. I don't know if you're promoting anything, but if you want to come and talk, like I have words
Yeah.
to say. Um, Thank you for coming back, man. It's been so much fun, like just chilling for like 3 hours talking movies and books and like I feel like the greatest injustice on this show is I'm not getting you back on enough. Like
No, man, I appreciate you having me. This was an awesome way to spend the night, and always love talking about movies with you.
yeah,
I
as
think
a
you said it at
sorry,
the
go on.
beginning. I'm always hitting you up like, "Hey, do you remember this one? Did you ever hear this one?" I'm like,
And
James
as I
has to
said,
know.
like top five, like person, like I speak to on Instagram, which is strange because like the way that we got to know each other was you were like, "Hey, can I come on your show and promote my book?" And I was like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I heard you on Midnight Terrors. Yeah, of course." Like there was no
right.
like organic. It was just like just a simple request, and and now we talk to each other heaps, which is great. Like I love talking to you, and it was nice
Oh
to be able
yeah,
to like do it verbally again as opposed to just being like typing out
for sure.
recommendations. Um, Before we get out of here, do you want
Go
to
watch this weird mob movie from 2000.
yeah, right. Yeah, you brought up Knockaround Guys the other day. Like, have you
Knock
seen Knockaround
around,
Guys?
guys.
And I was like, I can't. Like, I think I was like, I remember the DVD box art, and I think I rented it from the video store, but I don't know how far into it I got because I went on a
Uh,
huge Vin Diesel kick, like Pitch
yeah.
Black. Like, I was like, oh my god, like who is this guy? And
Hmm.
then like Vin Diesel would never really make another film to the same quality as Pitch Black. He kind of became like he went from being a guy who would make no sequels to the Fast and the Furious guy.
Yeah, right.
Like he was doing all these cool, like weird things. Like like at first the only sequel he really did was an animated sequel to Pitch Black and the video game, and
I
then it
remember
was.
that.
And then he was like, "I'm not doing any more Fast and the Furious." Cut to like, "I'm doing every Fast and the Furious film." Also, I'm in Guardians of the Galaxy, and just give me a reason to do more, and I will. Um,
Right.
but did you ever watch? And I know we're getting out here, but did you ever watch A Man Apart?
I haven't.
Oh, okay, so this is like pre-franchise Vin Diesel, and could be a little bit Count of Monte Cristo, actually.
Oh, look
Vin
at
Diesel
this.
plays a cop, and it's very reminiscent of the Punisher as well. And he goes on this raid, and then to get revenge, the guy that he like kind of thwarts kills his wife and child, and then like he goes on this like, and it's Timothy Oliphant plays the villain, and then
Hmm.
like he goes out and like seeks revenge and starts like dismantling this like criminal empire. And I remember like the reason I was
So very much like Max Payne.
yeah. And the reason why I dug it so much and the reason I was so intrigued is the poster art is Vin Diesel with a beard. And I was like, what?
Whoa.
I think he had a beard, or was that a different film? Because there is a movie where he has hair, and that blew my mind as well. I was like, Vin Diesel with hair,
Okay.
that's strange. He played a lawyer, I think. But I want to say a man about all things that we wouldn't believe. Um,
This movie was just brought up in something. If I was reading about it or I was watching a video on something, this one was just brought up. What
yeah.
is this from like the early 2000s?
Yeah. F. Gary Gray directed it, who did Fast and the Furious.
Oh
Like,
man.
and The Italian Job and Friday.
Oh, dude, I love the Italian Job movie.
It's so underrated. Really good reading.
The Mini Cooper's getting out of the
Yeah.
crime scene. Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, so A Man Apart, like he it's a drug cartel, sorry, not a I guess it's a criminal empire.
Yeah.
Um great. I don't know how it holds up. It's been a minute since I've watched it, but I've probably watched it in the last 5 years. I reckon I watched it during the pandemic. I think I pulled out all my old DVDs. And A Man Apart, yeah, I reckon you dig it. Like if you like
Okay.
revenge films, and yeah, it's very Punisher, very Max Payne. Like it's very
Nice.
yeah. Um, but I haven't seen Knock Around Guys, so I'll have to get on that. Um, all
How could
right.
you miss that one?
Yeah, I know, right? I remember seeing it, and I think because as I said, I grew up in that strict household. I think it was an MA film, and I was too young. Like so in
Okay.
Australia, we don't have PG-13 R, we have PG MA R. So there's like extra steps of restrictions, which means you can see more stuff. Because if you go like a 15-year-old can go and see an MA film, and like there's stuff that you'll release. Like I'm guessing, like for example, The Punisher, that movie was probably R-rated in America.
Correct.
I'd have to imagine. So you have to be at least 17. In Australia, it was MA, so you could be 15 and go and see it. Like we could
Oh,
go and
nice.
we could go and see Borat and stuff like that. Like American Pie, we could go and
Very
see because
nice.
there was an MA. So we had a couple of extra steps, but it
Okay.
means there's a little bit more. Like all the Saw movies, I could go and see in theaters even though I was a teenager because they weren't 17, they were 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
what would constitute a 17 one? Like nudity or sex scenes or something? Like I
um,
thought you only have to be 15.
there is one Saw film, I think Saw 6 and Saw 7, the really violent ones that have like Hostel, for example, that was an R, that was an 18.
Oh man, Hostel was crazy.
Yeah, like Robocop, but it's weird. Like Robocop is an R, but I think by today's standards, it's probably an MA. Like, but it
Right.
was like Mad Max was an R, for its
Hmm.
time. But I think like you would, but it tends to be more extreme stuff. Um,
Gotcha.
I don't really know how it works, but like it also our rating system is run by a government body, not by a bunch of
Oh.
parents. Like yeah, like in the UK and Australia, it's like it's fascinating. Oh my god, like I could talk about it for ages. Like the rating systems are run by government bodies, so there's like strict rules. I don't know what the rules are, but like it's basically like you can
Hmm.
do this, and like I've got to a certain point. So like there are certain films that yeah, it's crazy to me when like here like a film's gonna be R-rated in America. I'm like, it's probably not gonna be R-rated in Australia. Like
Okay.
we don't have too much unless it's like the really like kind of full on stuff. Like really explicitly sexual, explicitly violence.
Gotcha.
You can probably get away with an MA here, which I quite like. I like that there's a few extra steps. Like
That is cool.
especially as a teenager, I was like, yes, I can watch more things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could go and see stuff in the cinema by myself. I didn't have to wait until I could sneak it from the video store. Although I totally did that as well. When I went to the video store, I was sneaking out all those R-rated films. Yeah,
Breaking the law.
that's it. Before we get out of here, do you want to plug anything? Do you want to talk about the show? Do you want to talk about your books again? Where can they
Oh yeah.
find Mr. R Jacob Honeybrook?
For sure. You can find me over on Instagram. My handle is at author_Honeybrook. And I also have a link tree on there. There you can find a link to my Amazon page. All of my books are on there. There are 5 of them. They are just 99 cents. They are all different types of horror, a little bit of crime. So if you're into that stuff, give them a read. I'm also on tbmhorror.com as a contributor. I have my weekly Honeycut segments. Sometimes it's a column,
We
sometimes
didn't
it's
even
a.
talk about that. We'll have to get you on again and
Oh,
talk about that later. Give it
yeah,
proper
for sure.
justice because you're doing a column now as well, which is very cool. And the
Yes.
kind of thing like when I was young, I would have loved to have had. Like, oh, I wish I had a column. So like that's cool.
It is really cool. It's opened up a lot of different opportunities to talk to people that otherwise I probably wouldn't have, like
Nice.
actors and bands and just all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, over on tbmhorror.com, it is R Jacob Honeycut, and I post that every Monday morning. So,
Nice.
oh, and the podcast I co-host with my friend Kevin, Midnight Terrors. We are on every streaming platform. He's really active on the Facebook page, so wherever you're at, just search Midnight Terrace Podcast, and hopefully we pop up. So
I've got to get
I
Kevin back on the show. The last time he was on was 70 episodes ago. He was on
wow.
the last time he was on was episode 55 because that was
uh,
the longest podcast I ever recorded. Although this is coming
uh,
close. I think I had him and I had Michael, the host of We Love Horror, and we spoke for almost 4 hours.
wow.
Um, it was a nightmare to edit because the file was too big. I had to like, oh my god, I was almost going to release it as a 2-part. I managed to make it work, but it was a pain to edit that thing. But one of the only times I've ever edited a show, because we talked about editing like 7 hours ago.
Yeah,
Um, but I got
the
to get
sun was still out here.
yeah, the sun has come up now since then. It wasn't up when we started talking. Thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure. I know it's
Oh
only
my
been
god,
twice,
yeah.
but it's so good to have you on. And I know the listeners like as well. Yeah, Roy will be back, man. Like we can't help. There's such an innate attraction here. We can't help but talk to each other about movies and stories. Go and support his books. Go find them on Amazon. They're 99 cents, bro. Like they're cheap. Or wait until he charges like $50 for the hardcover. But either
That's
way,
right. Buy
I'll
the
be
collector's edition.
I'll be buying that bad boy. I can't wait to have it on my shelf. I'll proudly display that. And go support his books. Go support the show. Go check out the column. Just support the man himself. Listen to him. How cool is he? He's the coolest writer we know.
How you
Um,
doing?
yeah. Oh no, he's going to go plow someone. We better get out of here. Thank you for supporting this show. Go check me out on Instagram. I was a teenage film snob. Underscores between every single word. And that's it. So as we say on every single episode, guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.